Chapter 56. Shake the barbarians, shake the court, become a noble, and go against the universe. These words were so domineering and shocking, but how many people could actually do it? Yang Wu was not a fool. He could understand the meaning of these words, and at the same time, he understood that Sun Rue was right. He clenched his fists and said, "I can do it one day, but I'm afraid that it will take too long. Please guide me, sir." Yang Wu's change of address from elder son to sir showed that Sun Rue's position in his heart had changed. "Ah, you think too highly of me. I'm a strategist, not a martial artist. I can plan for temporary gains and losses, and I can plan for my death after 100 years, but I can't help you become a noble." Sun Rue's old eyes flashed with wisdom as he smiled. "Then please help me plan for the next year, sir," Yang Wu replied. He had set a goal for himself. Within a year, not only did he have to completely shake off his status as a prison slave, but he also had to return to the royal city and rebuild the Yang family. It seemed like a very short period of time, but Yang Wu was extremely confident. This was because he had the Imperial 9 Mysteries mantra and the Dragon Turtle Sea-turning technique. Of course, he could not ignore the existence of Little Hay. During this period of time, it had always been by his side. It did not take out any old medicine or spiritual medicine, but he knew very well that Little Hay had its own reasons for doing so. Perhaps as long as it was willing, it could take out old medicine or spiritual medicine for him at any time. Your martial bones are not bad, and you've also gathered enough crimson steel ores. As long as you survive the army of death, you'll be able to live a carefree life. It won't be too late to think of a plan in the future. Why are you in such a hurry to set a year? Sun Rue asked. "I can wait, but my parents can't. My brother can't." Yang Wu took a deep breath and replied, "What a filial son. Then I'll help you plan for the next year," Sun Rue said with admiration. "You've offended the king, which is your first crime. You've caused your parents to lose their titles, which is your second crime. You've caused your brother to lose his position as the top scholar in the liberal arts, which is your third crime. If you don't solve these 3 crimes, you won't be able to find peace in your heart. However, the third crime is ultimately the first crime. With your current strength, you can't even protect yourself, so it won't be easy for you to get rid of these crimes. Even if you gather 100,000 kilograms of crimson steel, ores, you'll still be dead when you arrive at the army of death. The king won't let you live a good life, and even the girl who's protecting you won't be able to stop you. Originally, if you follow the 12 words I just said, you'll make military contributions in 3 years and fight for the position of commander. In 5 years, you'll fight for the position of major general. In 10 years, you'll be able to take the position of barbarian general and return to your hometown in glory. When that time comes, you'll be conferred the title of Marquis. The royal family will definitely not dare to make things difficult for you, and the royal family will definitely give you a satisfactory way out. However, if you want to finish these 10 years of work in 1 year, it's undoubtedly an extremely difficult road to heaven. However, since you want to plan for the next year, you'll have to be prepared for a slim chance of survival. That is, you'll have to be the vanguard of the men of sacrifice and become the king of death. What's the matter? Sun Rue was in high spirits when he talked about planning, as if he was 10 years younger. His temperament was incomparable to the past. What a wise man. Yang Wu couldn't help but praise Sun Rue in his heart when he saw him like this. If Sun Rue heard Yang Wu's words, he wouldn't know how many nights he would laugh from ear to ear. The vanguard of the men of sacrifice, the king of death? Yang Wu murmured softly. That's right. The Death Legion is a troop that uses prison slaves to charge and break through the enemy lines to kill the barbarians. Originally, the purpose of the Death Legion was to send the prison slaves to their deaths. Those who survived were either crippled or insane. However, more than 10 years ago, a true king of death appeared. He comprehended the Tao of death and became a king in one fell swoop. From then on, he intimidated the barbarians and was even conferred the title of Marquis by the imperial court. He has the right to act first and report later. Sun Rue said calmly. The king of death who is ranked in the top 10. Yang Wu exclaimed in shock. The Great Xia dynasty had 10 strongest kings, and the King of Death was ranked in the top 3. No one dared to challenge him in the Tao of Death. He had already been famous for 20 years. That's right, it's him. Sun Rue nodded lightly and continued. If someone can become a general in a year, they're already considered a genius. If you want to become a King of Death, how difficult is that? This King of Death stayed in the Death Legion for 10 years before he killed his way out. If you want to kill your way out in a year, it's as difficult as ascending to the heavens. I advise you not to take this path. It's better for you to take it step by step. Sun Rue suggested. Yang Wu's eyes flashed with determination as he said, since there's only one path to take, even if it leads to the gates of hell, I'll still take it. The other paths take too long. I'm afraid they can't afford to wait. Yang Wu could sacrifice his life, but his parents and brother might not be able to afford to wait. There was also that little slug who was already thousands of miles away from him, waiting for him to meet. He would definitely be able to reach the peak of the mountain in 3 years. He would be able to reunite with his family and bring home the beauty. There are thousands of paths, but there's only one that suits you. Once you've chosen it, you'll have to walk it. Only when you've stepped on the path of death can you see the light. After Sun Rue said that, he didn't say anything else and walked down the mountain with shaky steps. Yang Wu looked at Sun Rue's back and bowed deeply. When he raised his head, Sun Rue's back was already nowhere to be seen. At night, Yang Wu sat alone on the mountain peak. He looked at the knee-dark night sky and listened to the occasional wolf howls that came from the edge of the prison realm. His heart was unusually calm. He thought of the torture that he had suffered since he was imprisoned. He then thought of the supreme 9 mysteries formula and the dragon turtle sea turning technique that he had somehow obtained. He also thought of Little Hay, the spiritual dog that was following him. Only then did he regain his confidence step by step and attain the realm of a warrior. He was able to defeat the general realm and defeat the boss of the prison realm. He obtained the 100,000 kilograms of crimson steel rocks that he wanted and could leave this godforsaken place at any time. However, he thought of Shou Ho and Little Man. He had promised to bring them away. He didn't want to go back on his words, but when he thought of the pressing time, he became hesitant. Yang Wu was born in a noble family and had experienced a series of setbacks. His wisdom had long surpassed that of his peers. He was not an indecisive person, but he was a person who valued relationships and righteousness. He was born with that in his bones. He did not want to break his promise. Gather another 200,000 kilograms of crimson steel rocks for them. Yang Wu looked at the moonlight that quietly revealed itself and said faintly. At this moment, his heart was incomparably firm. Although he wanted to grow wings and leave this place, he felt uneasy if he didn't bring the 2 important people with him. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in the sky under the cover of the night. Yang Wu's heart skipped a beat. He activated the supreme 9 mysteries formula to the extreme. He held a dragon in one hand and a turtle in the other and was about to attack the shadow. He thought to himself unwillingly, I didn't expect to die like this. However, before he could attack, Little Hay on his shoulder barked first. Woof, woof. Its voice wasn't loud, and it could only be heard within a few dozen feet. No one would pay attention to it, but the shadow that came from the sky had already landed quickly. It knelt heavily on the ground with all 4 of its limbs, and it only let out a low cry. Oh! Yang Wu's eyes widened as he watched this scene. His brain couldn't wrap its head around it. He exclaimed in his heart, could it be that this Viscount's aura is enough to make this wolf king kneel here? Yang Wu was overthinking things. Lang Jie's gaze wasn't on him from the beginning to the end. Instead, it was focused on Little Hay on his shoulder. Woof, woof. Little Hay stared at it with its small eyes and barked continuously. It seemed to be communicating with Lang Jie. Lang Jie nodded repeatedly in response. It was as docile as a harmless big dog. Yang Wu completely understood that this matter had nothing to do with him. He looked at Little Hay and said, Little Hay, is it looking for you? Little Hay nodded humanely. It even wagged its tail anxiously and stroked Yang Wu's ear as if it was proud of itself. Then, does it listen to you? Yang Wu could tell that Lang Jie was very respectful to Little Hay. It was like a subject meeting a king. That was why he asked this question. Little Hay nodded again in response. Yang Wu was overjoyed. He hurriedly said, "Then let it stay as a mount." Since he was very young, Yang Wu had always admired those experts who could tame spirit demons as mounts, riding on their mighty mounts and galloping on the road. How dashing would that be? Who knew how many beauties would fall head over heels for them? However, spirit demons had already developed intelligence. If one wanted to subdue them, it would be difficult to subdue them without powerful martial strength and the necessary opportunities. Most spirit demon mounts had been raised by humans since they were young. Such spirit demons were not weak, but they had lost some of their wildness. In front of him was a wolf king. Yang Wu actually wanted to use it as a mount. If others knew about this, they would scold him. Wishful thinking. However, if they saw the next scene, their jaws would probably drop in shock. Lang Jie is willing to be your mount, Lang Jie said in human language. Yang Wu opened his mouth wide and was completely dumbfounded. He had only said it casually, but the Wolf King had taken it seriously. This made him feel a loss. Little Hay barked repeatedly with a look of disdain. The Wolf King was so frightened that it continued to kneel, not daring to make a sound. Yang Wu came back to his senses. He was sure that the Wolf King was very afraid of Little Hay. He suspected, could Little Hay be the eldest son of the Wolf clan? However, no matter how he looked at it, Little Hay did not look like a wolf. It did not have any wolfish instincts. Its appearance was also very different. At this moment, the Wolf King spat out something. Yang Wu's eyes widened. He could not help but cry out, Could this be a companion wolf blood crystal? The companion wolf blood crystal was an energy crystal formed when the Wolf King broke through. The power it contained was not to be underestimated. It could be said to be a king item. Just as Yang Wu finished speaking, Little Hay had already leaped over his shoulder and swallowed the fist-sized companion wolf blood crystal. Yang Wu instantly felt his heart ache. Chapter 57. The life-bound wolf blood crystal was a crystal the size of a fist. There were wisps of blood on its surface, and it was sparkling and translucent. It was formed from the blood of the Wolf King, and could be considered a king item. If an ordinary wolf demon devoured a life-bound wolf blood crystal like this, not only would their bloodline improve, but their strength would also increase greatly. They would even have a chance of breaking through to the king level in the future. It could be said that a life-bound wolf blood crystal like this was extremely rare. It was extremely beneficial for tempering the body of a human. Yang Wu had not only focused on cultivation since he was young. He often read books with his younger brother. However, his younger brother read books of the saints, while he read all kinds of strange books. Thus, he could recognize the life-bound wolf blood crystal at a glance. However, such a precious thing was swallowed by Blackie in one gulp. How could he not feel pained? If he could obtain a small amount of the life-bound wolf blood crystal, he would be able to refine his body. It would be extremely beneficial to him. Fortunately, Little Hay was not the type to eat alone. It quickly returned and spat out a thumb-sized, life-bound wolf blood crystal. Yang Wu quickly put it away and said, Little Hay, oh Little Hay, you can ignore this king item, but you can't be so wasteful. Apart from leaving a little for me, you can't leave a little for Show Ho and Little Man. Little Hay stuck out its tongue. There were still 2 life-bound wolf blood crystals curled up in its tongue, but it quickly put it away. Yang Wu laughed heartily. He then gently stroked Little Hay and said, I've wronged you. He paused for a moment and glanced at Lang Jie, who was lying on the ground and did not dare to get up. He then said to Little Hay, What should we do with it? Yang Wu wanted Cruel Wolf to be his mount, but he didn't dare to do so now. If that happened, it would definitely cause trouble. He still wanted to get rid of his identity as a prison slave openly. Little Hay rolled her eyes and barked at Lang Jie a few times. Lang Jie kept nodding his head like a chicken pecking at rice. After a while, he stood up and said something that Yang Wu could understand. Here is a wolf's tooth. Please accept it. It can protect you from being attacked by my clan's wolves. You can come to my territory to look for me at any time. After saying that, it spat out a sizable wolf tooth in front of Yang Wu. Then, It looked at Little Hay reluctantly before flying away under the cover of the night. Yang Wu picked up the sharp wolf fang and said with joy, "In that case, in the future, the wolf clan can be considered to have a death exemption card." Yang Wu was pleasantly surprised by this opportunity that had been delivered to his doorstep. At that moment, what he wanted to do the most was to use this piece of companion wolf blood crystal. He couldn't swallow it directly like Blackie, or he would be killed by the demonic chi. He could only soak it in water and use it to temper his body. It was difficult to even take a bath in the prison, so where was he going to find water to temper his body? Looks like I'll have to trouble Sister Lon Xin. Yang Wu thought to himself. Then he found a rag and wrote a few words on it using black charcoal. He handed it to Little Hay and said, "Little Hay, help me give this to my sister tomorrow." Little Hay bit the rag in her mouth and nodded in agreement. That night, Yang Wu couldn't cultivate in peace. Instead, he practiced his battle skills for the entire night and waited for the next morning's sun to rise. On this day, Yang Wu didn't sit cross-legged to absorb the purple chi. Instead, he stood with his hands behind his back. The purple chi automatically entered his body. At that moment, 7 more acupoints were opened in his body. He was only 2 acupoints away from the 108 acupoints. Yang Wu didn't sleep the entire night, but his spirit didn't shrink at all. Instead, his eyes were like the purple sun, full of energy and vigor. At that moment, a prison guard quickly came up the mountain with a bucket of water. The prison guard was very young, about the same age as Yang Wu. He couldn't be considered handsome, but he had a resolute look to him. He was the kind of youth who was more attractive the more you looked at him. The young prison guard placed the bucket in front of Yang Wu and looked at Yang Wu with an unfriendly expression. "I don't know what relationship you have with Mayor Wan, but I hope you know your place and don't drag Mayor Wan into this." After that, the young prison guard didn't wait for Yang Wu's reply and quickly turned around and went down the mountain. Yang Wu looked at the young man's back and smiled. Looks like another young man who's been attracted by Sister Lon Xion's charm. At that moment, Little Hay scurried in from outside, holding something in her mouth as she appeared in front of Yang Wu. After Yang Wu saw it, he raised his eyebrows and said, "Little Hay, you're finally willing to give me some old medicine to nourish my body." What Little Hay held in her mouth was a stalk of cold return grass. This was an old medicine that warmed and nourished the body. Although it wasn't as precious as the blood ginseng, it was gentle and easy to absorb. It could reduce heat, but its attribute was cold. Little Hay gestured with her front paws, as if Yang Wu was going to throw this stalk of cold return grass into the bucket of water. Yang Wu understood tacitly. "You want to use this stalk of cold return grass together with the companion wolf blood crystal?" Little Hay nodded repeatedly, indicating that Yang Wu was right. Okay. Yang Wu knew that Little Hay wouldn't harm him, so he agreed. Then, he moved the bucket into the stone house and threw the thumb-sized companion wolf blood crystal and the cold return grass into the bucket. He took off his clothes and walked into the bucket. Then, he stood up with the dragon turtle water-suppressing stance and absorbed the water xian qi that had seeped into the ground bit by bit. This ability to absorb water was something that even a martial artist in the general realm might not be able to do. Yang Wu was so focused that he stood there for half a day. The water in the bucket turned from a little bit of water to a small puddle until it covered his knees. Finally, the entire bucket was filled with water. Soaked in the water, Yang Wu felt comfortable all over. Both his mental and physical fatigue were swept away. The peach seed dantian in his body was absorbing the water xianqi. His meridians and acupoints were humming at the same time. It was possible for him to break through the 108 acupoints at any time and enter the senior warrior realm. Yang Wu held the companion wolf blood crystal and crushed it. The moment the companion wolf blood crystal broke, a demon aura appeared in the air, and a wolf shadow pounced on him with bared fangs and brandished claws. Others would be frightened by such a horrifying momentum. However, Yang Wu was already prepared. He had already worn the wolf's tooth on his chest. This was the wolf's tooth before the Wolf King evolved. Although it was not a king's item, it was definitely a top general's tooth. It could resist the demon aura of the wolf. In addition, It could also ward off evil spirits and calm the mind. The wolf shadow disappeared before it got close to Yangwu. The power of the companion wolf blood crystal began to disperse in the bucket. The water immediately turned red and boiled in an instant. Hiss! Yangwu only felt that he was in a steamer. The boiling water made him scream. His body couldn't help but twitch. He really wanted to jump out of the bucket. This would kill him. I've even survived the blood chi, so this pain is nothing. Yangwu gritted his teeth and thought to himself as he endured the pain in his heart. The companion wolf blood crystal was only the size of a thumb, but the power it contained was enough to temper a person's body. Yangwu was only in the warrior realm, so it was naturally enough. The companion wolf blood crystal was on the hot side, while the cold return grass was on the cold side. At this time, the cold return grass showed its effect. It produced a little bit of cold air and reduced the heat in the bucket. Otherwise, the heat of the water would become even more terrifying. Even a warrior might not be able to withstand it, let alone Yangwu. Yangwu abandoned all distracting thoughts and used all his strength to activate the supreme 9 mysteries formula and the dragon turtle water suppression stance to absorb some of the power that seeped into his body. After the supreme 9 mysteries formula and the dragon turtle water suppression stance combined, the power outside the bucket was constantly absorbed into his pores. Finally, it entered the peach core dantian. The thousand holes mysterious essence, chi, was like clouds steaming. It was truly magical. When this power strengthened the peach core dantian, it seeped into his flesh and organs, strengthening them bit by bit, making them incomparably tough. While Yangwu endured the steaming pain, he felt that his mental strength was also increasing. If he couldn't endure it and fainted here, even if he was scalded to death, his body would be completely cooked and his power would be wasted. Another half a day passed and night fell. The bloody color in the bucket faded with the waves and the water stopped boiling. Yangwu was still maintaining his stance, and there was no longer any trace of pain on his face. Behind him, there was a faint dragon turtle aura, but it was very faint, so faint that it was difficult to grasp. Suddenly, the water in the bucket moved again, but the water wasn't boiling. Instead, it was like a whirlpool that spun nonstop inside the bucket. After it spun to a certain extent, the water overflowed out of the bucket. Yangwu opened his eyes, and the bucket broke. Bang! The water scattered all over the ground, revealing a healthy, well-proportioned, and perfect body. Strange sounds rang out, as if thousands of arrows were shot, and also as if there were whirlpools spinning rapidly. Specks of light appeared all over his body, like stars in the sky. Finally, they converged into a long rainbow, which was very spectacular. Piercing through the rainbow, this was the unique sign of a high-level warrior. Yangwu broke through 14 acupoints in his body, breaking through the limit of 108 acupoints, reaching 120 acupoints. Every acupoint was filled with profound chi that was spinning rapidly. The profound chi in the 12 standard meridians, and that meridian was like a surging river. In addition, there was a meridian that was faintly moving. Unfortunately, the power didn't break through this meridian. Yangwu opened his eyes, and 2 streaks of lightning pierced through the night. He could clearly see everything within 100 zhang outside the room. Strange sounds were also transmitted into his ears, which were the sound of those prison slaves sleeping soundly in the underground. Stepping into the high-level warrior realm is another scene. Now, I can go to the prison field leaders in front of me and see if they are willing to contribute the red steel or as they have obtained. Yangwu murmured. After Yangwu put on the prison clothes, he immediately used the whirlpool palm several times. The profound chi that came out of his palms was incomparably vigorous, and the spiraling force was enough to penetrate the profound armor of a general. In addition, the cicada clothes that appeared on his body seemed to be a lot thicker, and already had some similarities with the profound armor of a human general. Its defensive power naturally increased by several levels. Yangwu patted the blue cicada clothes in his body that was more than 1 level tougher, and said to himself with a smile, This can be considered as an invulnerable body, right? Then, Yang Wu stood up again with the dragon turtle water suppressing stance and began to visualize the dragon turtle sea turning art. Every time he visualized the dragon turtle sea turning art, he would gain great benefits. This was really a peerless secret technique. The next day, before Yang Wu could issue a challenge to the first district, someone came to look for trouble. Chapter 58. The new first district was a combination of the previous 4 districts. Everyone thought that the 4 bosses there would definitely clash with each other. However, none of this happened. The 4 bosses only met each other once, and there was no conflict. Everyone got along well in the first district. However, the 4 gangs became an alliance. At the same time, there were 4 leaders who were the original 4 bosses. It seemed that they were going to coexist peacefully. The 4 leaders were the original number 1, AI Fei Li, Zombie Han Wuqing, Clown Teacher Lung Mei, and Barbarian Shi Taixing. AI Fei Li was a thief before he was imprisoned. He was famous for his speed and had the strength of a general. However, he was severely injured by the imperial court before he was imprisoned, and he was forced back to the top warrior realm. Even so, he could still look down on all warriors in the warrior realm. This was also the reason why he became the number 1 boss of the prison slaves. Han Wuqing was truly cold and emotionless. He was only 30 or 40 years old, but he already had a dead face. It was as if his heart had died. He was known as a zombie, and he killed people without blinking. The clown teacher, Lung Mei, was a woman with a disfigured face. However, her figure was undeniable. It was not ambiguous at all. One could imagine that if she was not disfigured, she would be so charming that he would not be able to pay for it with his life. As for Barbarian Shi Taixing, he was a captive. He was extremely strong, and he could easily defeat a general realm warrior. These 4 people could be said to be much stronger than Wang Bajin, Zhou Shuilong, and He Gu. After they formed an alliance, they wanted to divide the crimson steel ores among the prison slaves. They were no longer satisfied with the current situation of 1 to 7. Because of this, they sent people to the new 2nd district to ask the new boss of the 2nd district to pay tribute to them. This time, the 1st district did not send many people. There were only 8 of them. However, these 8 people were all advanced warriors, and one of them was even a top warrior. No one dared to stop such a force from entering the 2nd district. The leading top warrior, Guo Jingshi, shouted at the prison slaves of the 2nd district in a domineering manner, "Call your new boss here. Tell him to pay tribute to the 1st district from now on." Guo Jingshi's attitude was very arrogant, as if he was the master of the 2nd district. Zhou Shuilong had not recovered from his serious injuries, so he did not stop them. He even asked someone to inform Guo Jingshi about who was the real boss here. Guo Jingshi and his group quickly went to look for Yang Wu's whereabouts. Soon, they found Su Jiahua first. When Guo Jingshi saw Su Jiahua, who was half a woman, his heart was moved. He teased her. "I've heard that Black Gorilla got himself a pretty good mistress. Now, it seems that you're not bad at all. Your body can even withstand some torment. Later, you'll come with me to the 1st district and have some fun." Guo Jingshi was the strongest prison slave other than the 4 alliance masters. He believed that he was not any weaker than Wang Bajin, Zhou Shuilong, He Gu, and the others. The only reason he did not become a leader was because he was following AI Fei Li. You want to subdue this old lady with your short stature? Take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror first. Su Jiahua wasn't a kind person and directly spoke with her hands on her hips. At the same time, a large number of prison slaves surrounded them. As long as Guo Jingshi and his group dared to cause trouble, they would swarm them. "Hee hee, you're quite something. It doesn't matter if you don't like me now, but once you've had a taste of my crotch, I guarantee that you won't be able to stop." Guo Jingshi ignored the prison slaves surrounding them and sneered. "T. Everyone attack. Kill them." Su Jiahua waved her hand and ordered. "Who dares? We're the 4 alliance masters of the 1st district. If you dare to attack us, we'll definitely take all of your crimson steel ores." Guo Jingshi shouted. Sure enough, under Guo Jingshi's yelling, the prison slaves who were present retreated a little. The people in the first district were all ruthless, even more ruthless than them, and their strength was a bit stronger. Moreover, the few bosses were all infamous, so they were more or less afraid. What are you afraid of? They can't cause trouble on a large scale. Attack! Su Jiaohua ordered again. In the end, the battle still broke out. Nearly 100 people against 8. This was not as magnificent as Yang Wu entering the 7th district alone, but it wasn't too far off. Guo Jingshi and his group came prepared. Each of them had the strength of a high-level warrior. Their combat strength was extraordinary. When they blocked the attacks of the prison slaves, they quickly restrained Su Jiaohua. The good show of capturing the leader first to capture the bandits made the other prison slaves not dare to act rashly. Call your new leader out immediately, or I'll kill this woman first, Guo Jingshi said with a ferocious expression. A moment ago, he was still thinking about having fun with Su Jiaohua. Now, he wanted to destroy her. His ferocity was extraordinary. Therefore, Fatty Dong climbed up the mountain to find Yang Wu to settle this matter. When Fatty Dong was halfway up the mountain, Yang Wu had already come down. Before Fatty Dong could say anything, Yang Wu said, "I know. Let's go down and talk." "Yes, young master." Fatty Dong looked at the young man in front of him and felt inexplicably relieved. It was as if there was nothing in the mountain prison that this young man couldn't handle. Yang Wu gently stroked little Hay on his shoulder and muttered with a smile, "I originally wanted to go to the first district. This time, I have a good reason to act." Soon, Yang Wu followed Fatty Dong to the scene of the incident. Guo Jingshi was kneading Su Jiaohua's buttocks with a smug and lewd smile. "So bouncy. I'll just pretend that I'm being molested by a pig." Su Jiaohua cursed. "That's right. Later, I'll capture you and make you mine. Let's see if you're still as stubborn as before." Guo Jingshi laughed. The surrounding prison slaves were incomparably envious. They also wanted to enjoy a fragrant woman like Guo Jingshi. One had to know that there were some women in the mountain prison. Most of them were incomparably ugly, and some were even old and crippled. It was rare to see a woman with such charm like Su Jiaohua. Women who were slightly younger would have been sent to serve as military prostitutes long ago. They wouldn't have been sent to this place. Yang Wu arrived in front of them. The prison slaves on his left and right opened up a path for him, and they all respectfully called out in unison, "Young master." Everyone else liked to address him as boss, but Yang Wu didn't like it. Thus, all the prison slaves present called him young master. Guo Jingshi looked at Yang Wu with a pair of triangular eyes that were filled with contempt. "A brat who hasn't even grown out his hair dares to call himself a king here? You really don't know what you're talking about." Yang Wu calmly looked at Guo Jingshi and said, "Let her go, and I'll let you crawl back in one piece." What if I don't let her go?" Guo Jingshi sneered. "If I don't let her go, then I'll leave 1 or 2 items on me before I go back. Or I'll just leave my head here." Yang Wu replied, "What arrogance! Come, let me see what ability you have to put my head here." As a top-tier warrior, Guo Jingshi was very confident. He handed Su Jiaohua to someone behind him and walked towards Yang Wu. Guo Jingshi stopped half a meter away from Yang Wu, tore open his prison clothes, and revealed a series of crisscrossing scars. He patted his chest and said, "When I was fighting, you were still drinking milk somewhere. If you have the guts, come and touch me. Let's see if I don't break your balls." "You're very confident. What if it's your balls that are broken?" Yang Wu looked at Guo Jingshi and said, "Nonsense. I'm a #1 expert on a boss AI. If I want to be one of the bosses, I can get it easily. So you'd better be sensible and give the red steel stones to our first district as tribute. That way, you can live a safer life. It won't be too late for you to show up when the bosses of our alliance go to the Death Legion. Now just obediently squat down. Don't give me that youthful face. Otherwise, you'll die sooner." Guo Jingshi scolded Yang Wu as if he was lecturing a junior. At the same time, he reached out to grab Yang Wu's face. He didn't put Yang Wu in his eyes at all. Before his hand reached Yang Wu's face, it was grabbed by Yang Wu's hand. Guo Jingshi frowned and wanted to pull his hand back, but he couldn't. His face changed slightly. His other hand formed a fist and smashed towards Yang Wu's face. This fist was surrounded by Qianqi and was very domineering. He must teach Yang Wu a lesson. Unfortunately, before his fist could reach Yang Wu had already kicked out quickly and landed directly on his crotch. Ow! Guo Jingshi was kicked up, his legs tightly clamped onto his vital parts. Tears flowed out of his eyes as he screamed, "Ah! Broken! Broken!" This sound was so ear-piercing that it pierced the ears of the prison slaves who came with Guo Jingshi. They were so scared that they clamped their legs tightly together. Guo Jingshi was a top-notch warrior. His reaction speed was astonishing, but in front of this young man, his balls were actually broken. Was it because Guo Jingshi had underestimated his opponent, or was this young man too strong? Before Guo Jingshi's companions could arrive, Yang Wu had already grabbed Guo Jingshi's hair and pulled his head toward his knee. He slammed his head hard against the ground. In an instant, Guo Jingshi's nose bled violently, and he screamed again. Yang Wu revealed a cold expression and said, "Pretending to be garlic in front of this Viscount, you should take a look at your own weight." After saying that, he mercilessly threw Guo Jingshi towards his companions. His companions were already shocked. Unexpectedly, no one went to catch Guo Jingshi. Instead, they scattered to avoid him. Guo Jingshi fell heavily to the ground and fainted from the pain. Yang Wu's gaze fell on the prison slave who was still holding on his Su Jiahua. He scolded, "Let her go." His voice was imposing and thunderous. The prison slave was so scared that his hands trembled, and he pushed Su Jiahua away. "Each of you can leave if you break one of your arms," Yang Wu said coldly to the prison slaves of the first district. "Do you really think you've got us? Let's go together and take him down." One of the prison slaves shouted in defiance. He raised a crowbar in his hand and swung it at Yang Wu. This crowbar flickered with profound qi like a spirit snake. In the blink of an eye, it reached Yang Wu's throat. Just when the prison slave thought that he was going to stab Yang Wu only used 2 fingers to clamp the crowbar in his hand. It was called the telepathic finger. "Break 2 of your arms." After Yang Wu pronounced the prison slave's fate, he pulled the crowbar with 2 fingers, causing the prison slave to lean forward. His other hand reached out and grabbed the prison slave's shoulder. Before the prison slave could react, a powerful force crushed his shoulder. "Kacha! Ah!" The prison slave's screams and the sound of his broken bones mixed together. It was chilling. Chapter 59. Both of the prison slave's shoulders were crushed by Yang Wu on the spot. The sound of bones breaking and the prison slave's blood-curdling screams caused the others to break out in cold sweat. Yang Wu threw the prison slave to the ground like a dead dog, then said coldly to the other prison slaves who were retreating, "What are you waiting for if you don't cripple one of your arms?" These people hesitated for a moment, then one of them picked up the crowbar in his hand and hit his own arm. After this person crippled his own arm, the others did not dare to disobey and broke their own arms one after another. This way, they would suffer less pain than being crushed by the youth. "Scram!" Yang Wu shouted at these people. The few of them almost rolled and crawled away from this place. The prison slaves in the second district looked at Yang Wu with eyes full of reverence. In the future, no one would dare to disobey this young master in the slightest. Yang Wu looked at the injured Su Jiahua and said, "Well done. From now on, no one will find trouble with you." "Thank you, young master, for saving us," Su Jiahua said gratefully. Yang Wu replied, "Just serve Elder Sun more attentively in the future." After saying that, he headed in the direction of the first district. Fatty Dong was very quick-witted. He immediately followed and asked, "Young master, are you going to the first district?" Yang Wu nodded. Fatty Dong expressed his loyalty and said, "I'm willing to go with you, young master. I'm going to challenge all of them. Do you have the guts?" Yang Wu looked at Fatty Dong playfully. Fatty Dong shrunk his neck and smiled awkwardly. Then I'd better not be a burden to you." Yang Wu was not angry. Instead, he laughed and said, Fatty Dong, you're not bad. You're honest." Yang Wu looked up and left. He looked so heroic and carefree. He did not have the slightest awareness that he was a sheep in a pack of wolves. That was the first district. The most powerful prison slaves were all thrown there. Even though none of them surpassed the human general realm, Many of them had reached the warrior realm. When they gathered together, they could even trample a human general to death. Some time ago, a wolf general broke into that place and was killed by the prison slaves. It was enough to show how fierce these prison slaves were. Last night, Yang Wu had broken through to a high-level warrior, and his body had been tempered by the blood crystal of the companion wolf. Now, he could ignore everyone below the general realm. His ultimate purpose for this trip was not only to become the young master of all the prison slaves, but also to temper himself. He increasingly felt the warlike blood in his body. Only in battle could he accelerate his growth. Moreover, he had to become the war king of death within a year, which was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. He had no choice but to fight to survive. Yang Wu walked step by step toward the first district. He stepped over mountain rocks, weeds, and wildflowers. His heart was as calm as water, without the slightest nervousness before a great battle. On the contrary, the 1,000 holes in his peach core dantian were surging non-stop, and the mysterious essence chi was circulating wave after wave, reaching a perfect state. He carried an iron rod on his back. This was the relic of the black gorilla. It weighed 1,000 pounds and was many times better than an ordinary iron crowbar. It could be considered an ordinary weapon. Yang Wu arrived at the border between the 1st and 2nd districts. There were prison guards patrolling the area. When one of them saw Yang Wu, he wanted to stop him, but another prison guard shook his head and stopped him. Yang Wu naturally noticed these details, so he stepped over the border and headed toward the 1st district. There was a border between the regions, so the information between the regions was naturally not very accurate. As for Yang Wu, who had suddenly appeared, not many people paid attention to him. They all thought that he might be a new prison slave. He looked so delicate, but he was actually sent to the 1st region. He must have offended someone with a powerful background. One of the prison slaves came up to Yang Wu and said with a fierce look, "New kid, hurry up and tell me your name." Yang Wu smiled brightly and replied, "My name is Yang Wu." Yang Wu. So it's an animal surname. Interesting. Haha. Quickly learn how to bark like a sheep. If you can do it well, I'll let you have an easy time today. If you can't, you can crawl under my crotch and be a dog. The prison slave said arrogantly, "Duckhead, take it easy. This child looks so delicate. It's not good to scare him and make him cry. Let me comfort him." Another prison slave said to Yang Wu while throwing flirtatious glances at him, "You old kidnapper, who doesn't know that you like young masters? Wait for me to teach him a lesson. Then I'll let you have your fun." The prison slave in front said. He then looked at Yang Wu and said, "Quickly learn how to bark like a sheep. My patience is limited. Otherwise, I'll throw you over to that old kidnapper and let him break your ass." In this boring place, other than teaching new people, they didn't seem to have any other fun. "Little Hay, someone is scolding you. Can you bear it?" Yang Wu said with a smile as he patted Little Hay on his shoulder. "Woof, woof." Little Hay barked twice in response. It bared its teeth and jumped off Yang Wu's shoulder. It went straight for the person who had just scolded Yang Wu. The prison slave felt his vision blur, and then he felt pain on his face. He screamed as blood dripped down his face. Little Hay's claws had scratched his face, but that wasn't all. It had even bitten his neck, causing him to bleed. The prison slave wanted to grab Blackie, but even though Blackie's teeth were small, they were extremely sharp. Blackie bit off his neck, causing blood to spurt out like a fountain. He couldn't stop the blood from gushing out, and just like that, he fell to the ground, dead. This was the first time Yang Wu had seen Little Hay so fierce. It had bitten someone to death. He thought to himself, "It looks like Little Hay has changed after eating the wolf blood crystal. Good Lord, he actually let his dog bite someone to death. Everyone, let's go and teach this kid a lesson." The prison slave who had been talking to the dead man called out to the others. The prison slave was the first to raise the crowbar in his hand and hit Little Hay. He felt that Little Hay might be even scarier than a human. Unfortunately, his crowbar didn't hit Little Hay. Little Hay had already pounced on his neck. The prison slave couldn't stop Little Hay's ferocious bite. The blood vessels in his neck ruptured, and he bled to death. The other prison slaves were shocked, but they didn't stop. They all raised the crowbars in their hands and attacked Little Hay. Some of them even went straight for Yongwu. They knew that if they killed this kid, little Hay wouldn't be so fierce. Newcomer, how dare you cause trouble in the first district? Kneel down, a prison slave shouted. The crowbar was aimed at Yongwu's head. The crowbar's strength was extraordinary. It had the strength of at least 15 stones. It was the strength of a top-tier martial weapon. Before the crowbar's strength could reach Yongwu, Yongwu easily caught it. Yongwu pulled gently, and the prison slave was sent flying. I'm here to look for the leaders of your alliance. Please tell them not to come here and die, Yongwu said calmly as he looked at the prison slaves surrounding him. The prison slaves all had some strength, but in his eyes, they weren't even worth mentioning. Some of the prison slaves didn't believe him. A few of them joined forces and attacked Yongwu. The crowbars whistled through the air as they attacked Yongwu's vitals. Stubborn. After Yongwu said that, he finally made his move. His body was ethereal, and his palms were like the wind. Before the prison slaves' attacks could land on him, they were already sent flying. Yongwu pulled out the iron rod from his back and said again, "Those who stand in my way will die." At this moment, his body was like a dragon turtle treading on the waves. His speed changed from slow to fast, and even the chains could not restrain him. The prison slaves who were surrounding him only saw a blur in front of their eyes before they lost sight of the young man. When they looked again, the young man was already more than 10 feet away. A prison slave exclaimed, "I know who he is. He's the new leader of the second district, Yongwu. He killed Guijingshi and crippled the other leaders. How dare he barge into the second district alone? Let's kill him together. He seems to be very strong. We should report this to the 4 leaders." Some prison slaves quickly blocked Yongwu's path. However, as soon as they got close, they were sent flying by the iron rod. No one could stop the might of the iron rod. Yongwu didn't show any mercy. Every strike of the rod landed on the prison slaves' flesh, and they cried out in pain. Blood splattered on the ground, and it was a ghastly sight. Little Hay continued to weave through the crowd. Wherever it went, someone would be bitten by it. Some people's buttocks were bleeding, some people's arms were bleeding, and some people's necks were bitten off. No one was spared, and no one was able to hurt it. Yongwu continued to head east. In less than half an hour, there were dozens of people rolling on the ground behind him. The prison slaves were so scared that they didn't dare to continue forward. They needed someone stronger to stop them. "How dare you act so violently here? We brothers will tear you apart." A barbarian prison slave rushed out and shouted. This time, 4 barbarians appeared. Each of them was tall and mighty. Their brute strength was astonishing. Each of them carried 1,000 kilograms of rocks and threw them at Yongwu. These barbarians were warriors. The strength of these rocks was no small matter. Even a high-level warrior would be smashed to death, for huge rocks fell from the sky like meteorites. They rolled towards Yongwu's position. Yongwu didn't dodge or evade. Instead, he raised the iron rod and struck it towards the sky. Xianqi rushed out of the iron rod like a torrential rain. The 4 huge rocks were smashed to pieces. Stone fragments flew in all directions, and the prison slaves were forced to flee in panic. When the rocks were broken, the 4 barbarians had already arrived at Yongwu's left and right. They threw their fists at the same time. It was as if they had a tacit understanding. The Xianqi in the 4 fists was 10 feet long. The brute strength contained in these fists was even more overbearing. Even a top-level warrior would die if they were hit. "I'll use your fists to test my newly tempered physique." Yongwu faced the 4 fists without moving. He didn't even release Chani and allowed the 4 fists to land on his body. Bang! The 4 fists landed on his body at the same time. The overbearing Xianqi rippled through his body, wanting to destroy his meridians and organs. The 4 barbarians felt that Yongwu was definitely going to die. One of them opened his mouth and said, "That's all there is to it." Who knew that the youth would immediately reply, "That's all there is to it." The 4 barbarians were shocked. They wanted to retreat, but it was too late. The iron rod had already swept past them. Pu. Chapter 60. The iron cudgel contained Xianqi and was extremely powerful. Even the barbarians, who were born with thick skin and flesh, were unable to withstand it. Their skin was split open and their flesh was splattered. Yang Wu's blood was boiling. He laughed and said, "Bring more people who can fight. You guys are too weak." As Yang Wu's laughter fell, the iron cudgel in his xianqi was like a storm, wreaking havoc on the four injured barbarians. They were unable to retreat in time and were unable to block it. When Yang Wu put away the iron cudgel, the four barbarians were already covered in blood and collapsed in a pool of blood. Yang Wu did not look at them. The iron cudgel was placed on the ground. As he ran forward, the iron cudgel created a burst of intense sparks. Once the fearless prison slaves approached, they would be sent flying with a single blow. No one could stop them. Soon, a bloody path appeared in the first district. It was filled with the blood of the prison slaves. It was extremely shocking. The prison guards who were secretly watching felt their scalps go numb. The strength of the youth who was dragging the iron cudgel was not inferior to any of the bosses. If such a youth wanted to escape, the district head would have to appear to stop him. However far Yang Wu walked, little He followed. No one could stop their footsteps. Yang Wu's appearance finally alarmed one of the four bosses of the alliance, Shi Taisheng. He was also the king of the nearby mountains. Shi Taisheng appeared in front of Yang Wu empty-handed. He was like an iron tower standing at the highest point. He was like a Vajra. His eyes were bright and his aura was astonishing. In the past, Shi Taisheng had torn apart 49 soldiers and one general of the Great Xia dynasty on the battlefield before he was captured. Now that he was a captive, his barbarian aura did not diminish. As the boss of the prison slaves, although he would never be able to get rid of this identity, he would only be satisfied if he killed a few more people of the Great Xia dynasty. For example, the youth in front of him was the target he wanted to kill the most. Even if such a young genius had the potential to soar in the mountain prison, Shi Taisheng would kill this genius to reduce the danger to his comrades. This was also the reason why Shi Taisheng had to drag out an ignoble existence. Shi Taisheng had the spirit of one man guarding the pass. He coldly looked at the petite Yang Wu. There was not the slightest bit of contempt in his eyes. There was only a thick murderous aura. The other prison slaves no longer encircled Yang Wu. They all made space for Shi Taisheng. They believed that as long as Shi Taisheng made a move, this young man in front of them would die without a doubt. Yang Wu raised his head and looked at Shi Taisheng, who was blocking his way. He pointed his blood-stained iron rod at Shi Taisheng and said, "Barbarians, those who obstruct me shall die." Ever since he was young, Yang Wu knew that the citizens of the Grand Xia Empire and the barbarian tribe were at loggerheads with each other. However, he didn't know what exactly was going on. Perhaps it was a territorial dispute, or perhaps it was a conflict between different races. In short, it was an innate hostility that was instilled in him. "Boss, quickly kill him. He injured so many of our brothers." A prison slave cried out. "That's right, don't let him go. He's too arrogant. Does he really think that there's no one in the first district?" Another prison slave said. Yang Wu now knew that this barbarian in front of him should be one of the bosses of the first district, Shi Taisheng. He had long heard from Su Jiahua about the situation in the first district. One of the four bosses was from the barbarian tribe. The thing I love the most, is to twist off the heads of talented youths like you. Shi Taisheng grinned at Yang Wu. Everyone says that barbarians are all brawn and no brains. Seems like it's true. You're even disdainful of being my servant. Yang Wu mocked back. Shi Taisheng's eyes darkened. He took heavy steps towards Yang Wu. Every step he took left a deep footprint on the ground. It was obvious how tyrannical his strength was. "You dare to humiliate the barbarian tribe. Kneel down, and I'll leave you with a whole corpse." Shi Taisheng shouted as he walked over. He used his powerful aura to suppress Yang Wu. His entire body was surrounded by a light yellow energy. The energy was like snakes swimming in the air. It was awe-inspiring. Yang Wu flicked his unbound black hair and said with a smile, "I'll return the same words to you." After he finished speaking, Yang Wu faced Shi Taisheng head-on. He was not afraid of him at all. He only hoped that Shi Taisheng's strength would not disappoint him. Shi Taisheng raised his eyebrows. A yellow fist blasted towards Yang Wu. The fist was 1.5 feet long. It was like a roaring snake that wanted to devour people. The power of this fist was incomparably tyrannical. It was enough to split rocks and split mountains. It was not something that an ordinary top warrior would dare to take head-on. Yang Wu could clearly see the trajectory of Shi Taixing's attack. He could have dodged it first and then looked for an opportunity to attack. However, he did not do so. Instead, he gathered the power in his palm and slapped towards the fist. Bang! The fist and palm collided. Different forces splashed out. The two of them were in a deadlock. Neither of them took a step back. Their hair and clothes fluttered in the air. The dust and gravel around them were sent flying. Shi Taixing raised his eyebrows. It was as if two divine lights flickered in his eyes. His other fist blasted out again. The snake's coiled mouth was wide open. It wanted to swallow someone. Yang Wu's other palm was like a rippling wave. The spiraling force was like a small vortex that condensed in the palm of his hand. It met the snake's attack. The fist and palm collided once again. It was still a tie. Neither of them could do anything to the other. I don't believe that you can be stronger than me. Shi Taixing shouted angrily. He pulled back his fist and punched again. His strength was on another level. Yang Wu also pulled back his fist and punched again. His strength was also on the rise. Bang! Bang! Yang Wu and Shi Taixing fought head-on. Neither of them was willing to back down. Between their palms and fists, two different colored Xian Qi constantly burst out. Sand and stones flew around them. It was a wonderful sight. The surrounding prison slaves were dumbfounded. It was hard for them to imagine that such a young man could be on par with the barbarian, Shi Taixing. Even the top 3 bosses of the first district couldn't have such an ability. Damn it, I will definitely beat you up with one punch. The more Shi Taixing fought, the more anxious he became. With a roar, he circulated all of his Xian Qi. The brute force in his body crazily condensed on both of his fists. He smashed them at Yang Wu. Barbaric Python Fist. This was Shi Taixing's battle fist. It could release at least 15 cauldrons of strength. It was enough to smash a huge rock into powder. Yang Wu had already realized that Shi Taixing was going all out. He took a step back and circulated the Sovereign 9 Mysteries formula and the Dragon Turtle Water Suppression Art to the extreme. The energy in his body crazily extracted. The two vortexes condensed in the center of his palms became more rapid. It seemed that the sound of a vortex was contained within them. He first shouted, "Just now I only used 80% of my strength. Now I will use 90% of my strength to defeat you." As soon as he finished speaking, he pushed his palms forward fiercely. This was definitely more than 20 cauldrons of strength. The spiraling waves blasted the barbaric python until it exploded inch by inch. Blood splashed from Shi Taixing's arms. Traces of blood seeped out. His body continuously retreated. With every step he took back, a deep pit appeared on the ground. Yang Wu, in a spurt of energy, rushed forward like a dragon turtle coiling on water. His palms continued to fiercely strike. Shi Taixing's hands were trembling, but he had no choice but to raise his fists to meet the attack. Shi Taixing was once again pushed back. However, he still did not fall. More blood seeped out from his arms. The pain caused his expression to become even more unbearable. Yang Wu, on the other hand, continued to strike with his palms. His palms were like a tide. One wave came and went, and another wave came. It was endless. At this moment, he increasingly understood the subtleties of the vortex wave palm. The large success stage was becoming more and more mature. He was afraid that it wouldn't be long before he could cultivate this palm technique to the perfect stage. Under the 7th impact, Shi Taixing's arms were bent. His bones were broken. His body fell heavily to the ground, creating a human-shaped pit and raising a cloud of dust. Shi Taixing's skin was thick and his flesh was thick. He wouldn't die so easily. He wanted to get up, but a foot had already stepped on his chest, causing it to cave in. Pooh! Shi Taixing spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body became pale, and it was difficult for him to have any combat strength to speak of. Yang Wu stepped on top of Shi Taixing. He looked down at Shi Taisheng and declared, "The red steel ores you collected are all mine." "Ha! I can't leave the mountain prison at all. How could I have collected red steel ores? You think too much." Shi Taisheng laughed wildly in the face of death. Yang Wu's killing intent was great. He shouted, "If you don't have red steel ores, then what's the use of having you?" Shi Taisheng wanted to punch away Yang Wu's foot. Unfortunately, Yang Wu used his strength at this moment and stepped on his chest, causing him to die on the spot. He actually killed Boss Shi. Let's avenge him together. That's right. We were captured and brought here. We are destined to die. If we can kill this brat together, we will have profited. He has used up a lot of his strength. Let's take this opportunity to kill him. The captured barbarians here screamed. They each carried a crowbar or a rock and charged towards Yang Wu. They had already accepted their deaths. Dying a day earlier or a day later didn't make much of a difference to them. However, they were satisfied to be able to kill a few more people from the Great Xia dynasty. Yang Wu stretched out his hand and grabbed the iron rod that was thrown on the ground. Little He once again appeared on his shoulder. He laughed and said, "Little He, let's fight to our heart's content today." Yang Wu waved the iron rod. It was like a long dragon, sweeping away thousands of soldiers. Many crowbars were smashed out of their hands. The rocks were smashed into smithereens. The barbarians' blood splattered everywhere. Yang Wu really didn't have the mood to kill these barbarians. He killed his way towards the other mountains. No one was his match. Many of these prison slaves were scared. This young man's strength was simply unfathomable. If it were other warriors, they would have been killed by him. On top of a mountain not far away, there were dozens of prison slaves guarding together. 3 of them were standing at the highest point. They had already seen the scene of Yang Wu killing his way over. Their eyes couldn't help but reveal a somewhat dignified expression. These 3 prison slaves were the leaders of the alliance. They were AI, Fei Li, Zombie Han Wu Qing, and Clown Master Lung Mei. In their opinion, this young man's battle strength was not inferior to theirs. In fact, he might even be stronger. This was a fact that they couldn't accept. The younger generation will surpass us in time. The middle-aged AI, Fei Li sighed. Chapter 61. A long, bloody path was laid out like a red carpet-like rainbow. A young man, with a little hay dog on his shoulder, dragged his metal rod as he walked forward step by step. None of the prison slaves dared to provoke him anymore. Too much blood had been spilled, too many people had been injured, and too many had died. No one dared to look down on this young man anymore. The young man raised his head and looked at the dozens of prison slaves on top of a mountain. His gaze fell on the 3 bosses in the center. He pointed his metal rod at them, his fighting spirit soaring. Everything went without saying. Flying hairy AI, Fei Li, was a middle-aged man. His face could be described as young and handsome. Unfortunately, his hair had turned white early and his legs were no longer nimble. One of his legs had already rotted away. Even so, this warrior who had once entered the human general realm could still laugh proudly in the mountain prison. Zombie Han Wu Qing had a deadpan face. He looked as if everyone owed him 300 taels of silver. He was so gloomy that it was frightening. His body emitted waves of death aura that made people want to vomit. As for Ling Mei, she had a devilishly enchanting figure. Her voluptuous figure could make one's blood boil. If it weren't for her ruined and ugly face, she would have long been taken in by the prison guards. These 3 bosses were among the top 3 of the prison slaves. Naturally, their battle strength was not to be underestimated. When the prison slaves who were guarding the 3 of them saw the young man pointing at the iron staff, their eyes were filled with hostility. The several dozen of them were not like those good-for-nothings from before. They were all mid-level warriors and high-level warriors. If they joined forces, they could kill top-level warriors and battle generals. 3 bosses, let us go down and kill this arrogant brat. A prison slave volunteered. That's right. Even if he can kill everyone, he won't be able to kill us. The one who will die will be him. Another prison slave said. The dozens of prison slaves were ready to move. They clearly wanted to fight to the death with Yang Wu. AI Fei Li waved his hand and said, "Even if you go up, you will only be able to squeeze out his remaining strength. However, you'll all die. This is not a good solution. What's the use of talking nonsense? I want to kill this brat." Zombie Han Wuqing said in an extremely unpleasant voice. I don't care," Shi Lingmei said with a smile that was even uglier than crying. At this time, Yang Wu was already close to the mountain, walking over step by step. 3 bosses. Yang Wu only wants to ask for some red steel ores. I don't have any ill intentions. Please don't be too stingy, Yang Wuqing said to AI Fei Li, Han Wuqing, and Shi Lingmei. Along the way, Yang Wu had already killed many prison slaves. How could he say that he had no ill intentions? What a joke. And I'm, as a friend, bye, and... This time, he came here for nothing else but the red steel ores. He wanted to gather 50,000 kilograms for Shouho and Xiaoman so that he could leave with them. AI Fei Li frowned. That's too much. I know it's too much, so we'll follow the rules of the prison. Whoever's fist is harder will have the final say, Yang Wu said in high spirits. I'm guessing you only have 30% of your strength left. Aren't you afraid of being killed by us? AI Fei Li said. Even if I only have 30% of my strength left, it's enough to show you that my fist is the strongest. Yang Wu clenched his fist and said confidently. Zombie Han Wuqing couldn't take it anymore. He shouted, I don't want to listen to your nonsense. Defeat me, and my red steel ores will be yours. Han Wuqing rushed down from the mountain. He scratched the ground with the crowbar in his hand, causing sparks to fly. Aren't we going to fight? Shi Lingmei looked at AI Fei Li and asked, You can fight. I'm crippled. I don't want to fight. AI Fei Li said calmly. I want to see if he can block the combined attack of me and the zombie. If he can block it, then I'll give him my portion of red steel rock. Shi Lingmei said and floated down. The other prison slaves didn't dare to fight. They knew that if the 2 bosses attacked together, they wouldn't be able to do anything. If they couldn't even defeat the 2 bosses, they would die if they went up. Yang Wu looked at the oncoming Han Wuqing. The Supreme 9 Mysteries formula and the Dragon Turtle water suppressing stance in his body were operating to the extreme. His feet and pores were endlessly absorbing the Xian Qi from the outside world, replenishing what he had just lost. He recovered 40% of his strength from 30%. By the time Han Wuqing arrived, he had recovered 50%. By the time Han Wuqing attacked him, he had recovered 55%. Die. Han Wuqing was really merciless. The crowbar in his hand was infused with cold Xian Qi and aimed at Yang Wu's heart. Yang Wu's strength increased greatly. He could see the trajectory of the attack clearly. He dodged to the side, but his clothes were torn. It was obvious how fast Han Wuqing was. Han Wuqing's dead face had a sinister smile. He attacked even faster. If Shi Taisheng was strong, then Han Wuqing's moves were tricky and hard to defend against. They both had their strengths. In terms of danger, Han Wuqing was more terrifying. Han Wuqing's crowbar was more like a sword. He kept stabbing wildly, and in one breath he could stab 18 times at the same time. Each stab was aimed at a different location. If Yang Wuqing hadn't crossed the advanced warrior level and was still in the intermediate warrior level, he would have been stabbed directly under the crowbar. Yang Wu dodged again and again. When he couldn't retreat anymore, Shi Lingmei, who was charging down, attacked without warning. She held an even shorter crowbar in her hand. It was only half the length of an arm. But the moment she attacked, a sharp cold light pierced towards Yang Wu's back. Her sneak attack was effective. This ugly girl was an existence that could be ranked 3rd. Her attacks were very ruthless. She didn't show any mercy just because Yang Wu was handsome. Yang Wu was already in a situation where he was attacked from the front and back. It looked like it would be difficult to salvage the situation. AI Fei Li and the other prison slaves stared at this moment. They wanted to see how Yang Wu would deal with this situation. Yang Wu didn't expect that Shi Lingmei would attack at this time. He thought that she disdained to join hands with Han Wuqing. It looked like he was too naive. Come at me, Yang Wu shouted in surprise. He activated his mysterious energy that had recovered to 70%. A cicada robe quickly covered his body. At the same time, he avoided Han Wuqing's frontal attack and took the full brunt of Shi Longmei's crowbar from the back. That force caused cracks to appear on his cicada robe. The remaining force penetrated deep into his back. Shi Longmei was overjoyed. She felt that Yang Wu would be severely injured. But in the next moment, it was hard for her to smile. Yang Wu used the momentum of her attack and rushed towards Han Wuqing. His speed was much faster than usual. It was as if Yang Wu had jumped into Han Wuqing's embrace. At this moment, Yang Wu made his move. Rainbow after rain. The iron rod in Yang Wu's hand turned into a long spear. The spear light was like a rainbow after the rain. It was colorful and dazzling. Han Wuqing's eyes narrowed when he saw the light. He immediately entered a defensive state and retreated, not letting himself fall into a dangerous situation. His reaction was already very fast. Unfortunately, Yang Wu's move was even faster. In the blink of an eye, the iron rod was already above his head. He tilted his head at the first moment, but his ear was hit and his shoulder was bleeding. The pain made him suck in a breath of cold air and retreat. Yang Wu's move wasn't able to completely kill Han Wuqing. There was some regret in his eyes. Behind him, Shi Longmei had already recovered and attacked again. Shi Longmei's short crowbar proved the saying, an inch longer strength, an inch shorter danger. Every move and style was sharp and dangerous, forcing Yang Wu to be surrounded by danger. After Han Wuqing was injured by Yang Wu, he didn't stop. His face was suffused with a thick dark green, evil aura. He held the crowbar and attacked again. It was obvious that he was even angrier. Yang Wu didn't hold back anymore. He didn't make a move before because he was accumulating strength. Now that he had recovered 70% of his strength, it was time for him to make a move. The iron rod in his hand attacked left and right. Using the rod as a spear, he displayed the rainstorm spear technique. This warrior spear technique had already reached the perfect stage. It wasn't even inferior to the general skill proficiency stage. Shi Longmei and Han Wuqing were both blocked by him and couldn't cause him any harm. The more Yang Wu fought, the braver he became. The speed of the Regal Nine Mysteries formula became faster and faster, endlessly absorbing energy from the outside world. The acupoints on his body kept flickering, and 2 more acupoints were already showing signs of opening. Can your attacks be a bit more ferocious? This still isn't enough. Yang Wu's entire body was protected by the cicada robe. Moreover, his body had been tempered by the companion wolf blood crystal. It could be said that his body was invulnerable. He didn't fear their attacks at all. It was equivalent to being in an invincible position. This was also one of the reasons why he was able to withstand the attacks of the prison slaves on his way here. I will definitely make you suffer a fate worse than death. Han Wuqing shouted loudly and thrust the crowbar in his hand. Yang Wu was so frightened that he thought Han Wuqing could use his qi to block the crowbar. He swung his rod sideways and sent the crowbar flying. At the same time, he leaned back to avoid Shi Longmei's throat slash. His figure continuously retreated a few steps, increasing the distance between them. Roar! Han Wuqing let out a strange roar. His face became more and more green. His incisors suddenly became long and sharp. His arms became thick, and his fingernails became long. The prison clothes were shattered, and a terrifying corpse aura spread out from his body. Shi Longmei wrinkled her nose and retreated far away. She didn't dare to team up with Han Wuqing anymore. It was as if she was also disgusted by the current Han Wuqing. This is also a human beast transformation? No, it should be a human corpse transformation. Yang Wu exclaimed. Han Wuqing had turned into a scarlet body, like the black gorilla. However, upon closer inspection, he looked more like a zombie. It wasn't without reason that Han Wuqing was called a zombie. He cultivated the zombie art, an evil art that devoured death aura and corpse aura. Once he mastered it, he could turn into a battle corpse, and his combat strength would be much stronger. I'm going to eat you. Han Wuqing glared at Yang Wu and shouted faintly. In the next moment, he stepped forward and jumped toward Yang Wu. Chapter 62. Han Wuqing did not walk or run towards Yang Wu. Instead, he jumped like a zombie. However, the speed and height of his jumps exceeded the limits of a normal zombie. His arms were like divine weapons as he furiously chopped down at Yang Wu. Two streaks of green light fell like rainbows, suppressing Yang Wu. Yang Wu raised his gaze, his face filled with battle intent. His iron staff smashed down like rainbows. The iron staff was like a torrential storm, shooting out like arrows. His xianqi was pushed to more than 6 meters long, which was already comparable to that of a beginner human general. Yang Wu's torrential spear art had entered the perfect stage. Once he displayed it, there was no way he could escape. He felt that it was enough to beat Han Wuqing to death. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Han Wuqing ignored the attacks and used his arms to take them all in. Other than a few scars on his arms, there wasn't much damage. It could be seen how strong his body was after the transformation. Yang Wu really did not expect Han Wuqing to be unharmed after charging into his chaotic staff. He could not help but exclaim, "That works too." He could not retreat in time. Han Wuqing grabbed him by the neck and bit at his shoulder. "Disgusting thing, get out of my way." Yang Wu naturally would not let Han Wuqing bite him. Water xianqi was madly sucked into his body from where he stood. Under the pressure of the continuous battle, he instantly opened 2 orifices. The xianqi in the peach pit surged even more violently, causing him to explode with great power. His knee fiercely slammed into Han Wuqing's lower abdomen. Bang! This slam was enough to at least break Han Wuqing's lower abdomen. However, all of this was not as beautiful as imagined. Han Wuqing's body was sent flying from the impact. His lower abdomen was not destroyed, and his hands were still strangling Yang Wu's neck. However, his mouth was not as fast as before. Yang Wu furrowed his brows for a moment. Both of his knees struck out consecutively, determined to send Han Wuqing flying. Han Wuqing, on the other hand, refused to let go of Yang Wu, causing Yang Wu to feel suffocated. Han Wuqing's fingernails pierced through his cicada clothes and into his neck, wanting to choke him to death. Little Hay came out of nowhere and bit onto Han Wuqing's arm. Han Wuqing did not care about this little hay dog at all. After corpse transformation, his arms were as tough as steel. How could a little hay dog hurt them? Unfortunately, he was wrong. The little black dog's fangs were extremely sharp, and when it bit down, it was like a sharp blade that could cut through hair. It directly bit off one of his arms, causing strands of green blood to spurt out from it. Before Han Wuqing could react to the pain, Little Hay had already jumped onto his other arm and bit down again. He wanted to shake it off, but it was too late. Another arm was bitten off. The moment Yang Wu was freed, he poured all his strength into his iron staff and swept it across Han Wuqing's lower abdomen. His prenatal mystical essence qi surged like a tidal wave, beating Han Wuqing's lower abdomen until his intestines were exposed. Han Wuqing was just a mediocre corpse transformation. He might be able to withstand the attacks of an ordinary junior general, but Yang Wu had already used all his strength. Even a mid-level general would not be able to withstand his attacks. Naturally, Han Wuqing would not be able to withstand it. After Yang Wu's attack succeeded, he did not hold back. He shouted, "You disgusting bastard! What's the use of keeping you alive? Kill!" Yang Wu felt that Han Wuqing was really the kind of person who killed without batting an eyelid. He was even an evil person who ate people. Although he did not have a heart of justice, he was mentally disgusted by this kind of disgusting bastard. Therefore, he did not hold back and wanted to completely destroy Han Wuqing. Shi Lingmei wanted to attack, but when she saw that Little Hay was glaring at her with its fangs bared, she stopped moving. Bang bang. Yang Wu's iron staff was filled with tyrannical mystical qi wave after wave. It swept across Han Wuqing's body, which had already lost both his arms, directly destroying his body. The surrounding prison slaves looked on eagerly as their atoms apple-bobbed up and down. They couldn't stop swallowing their saliva. Yang Wu's deterrence was too strong. If they were to attack together, they would probably die. As the #1 boss, AI Fei Li's eyes were filled with calmness. Once upon a time, he also had such battle prowess. Unfortunately, his cultivation level had dropped, making it difficult for him to return to his peak. What a nostalgic time. AI Faley sighed softly in his heart. He had been labeled as a perverted thief, but he had only plucked flowers that were willing to be plucked by him. He had not forcefully taken them. He believed that if there were flowers to pluck, they should be plucked. He had not done anything wrong. However, the last time he had plucked a flower, he had plucked it from the body of an official's new wife. Therefore, the matter had blown up and attracted the attention of the 13 arbiters before he was captured. Even now, he did not regret his actions. He only felt pity for the delicate woman who had died because of him. He remembered that when he was captured, that woman had boldly said that she did not regret having a one-night stand with him. Because of this, that woman had been slashed to the ground by that fat, big-eared dog official. Zombie Han Wuqing was dead. Yang Wu's iron staff fell to the ground. His face was covered in sweat. His mouth opened and closed as he gasped for breath. It was obvious that he had overexerted himself. No matter how powerful and mysterious Yang Wu's mystical arts were, it was difficult for him to maintain his peak state in this kind of battle. However, as long as he was given a bit of time, he would recover very quickly. Yang Wu turned around to look at Shi Lungmei and said, "Why aren't you making a move? Are you going to admit defeat?" Shi Lungmei smiled and said, "Hee, that's right. I admit defeat. However, if you want the Scarlet Steel Stone, you should ask Boss AI first. If you can even win against him, I'll give you my Scarlet Steel Stone." After saying this, she nimbly returned to AI Fei Li's side, as if AI Fei Li was her superior. AI Fei Li shook his head and sighed. "Ugly girl, you don't seem to be very proper. Boss AI, you're the Alliance's #1 boss. You should take responsibility for this matter. This brat is too troublesome. I don't want to follow in the zombie's footsteps." Shi Lungmei said, "My leg is already crippled." AI Fei Li replied, "But you still have one leg that isn't crippled." Shi Lungmei replied, "It's a good thing that you're a disfigured woman. If you weren't, I wouldn't be willing to let you go." AI Fei Li replied indifferently. Then, he dragged his crippled leg and walked towards Yang Wu. Yang Wu didn't say anything. He used all of his strength to circulate the supreme 9 mystery tactics and the dragon turtle water suppression stance. He was extremely cautious as he looked at the #1 boss. He didn't dare to doubt the strength of this old man with a crippled leg. Just the fact that he could move 10 feet in one step was enough for him to take him seriously. "I'll give you half an hour to recover. After half an hour, take one of my attacks. If you can take it, I'll give you the Scarlet Steel Stone. If you can't, then you can go die." AI Fei Li came to a stop 5 meters away from Yang Wu. "Half an hour is enough for me to recover to my peak condition. Do you really dare to take the gamble?" Yang Wu asked back. "Don't talk nonsense. I was once in the general realm. Even if my realm has dropped, it's more than enough to take care of you who hasn't even reached the peak of the warrior realm. Don't think that you're amazing just because you can fight above your realm." AI Fei Li finally revealed a trace of the dignity of the #1 boss. Yang Wu looked up to the sky and laughed. "You're arrogant enough, but you're no longer in the general realm. With what's left of my strength, I can defeat you in one move." After saying this, Yang Wu stepped forward. He circulated the profound arts in his body to the extreme and compressed his strength repeatedly. He wanted to end this with one move. AI Fei Li giving him half an hour was beneficial for him, but he also didn't care. He wanted to walk the path of the War King of Death because he wanted to temper himself on the path of death. If it wasn't his opponent dying, then it would be his death. Only by facing death and surviving would he be able to quickly break through to a higher realm. This was one of his requirements for himself. AI Fei Li frowned and said, "Kid, you're overestimating yourself." At this time, he began to accumulate strength. A layer of gray, profound armor covered his body. This could only be considered a half profound armor, not a complete one. It was only slightly better than Yang Wu's current Chani, but this also showed that AI Fei Li's strength was extraordinary. Yang Wu quickly arrived in front of AI Fei Li. His footsteps slowed, but his aura continued to rise. The faint image of a dragon turtle seemed to appear behind him. Light blue water, profound energy surrounded him and finally gathered between his arms. At this moment, almost all of the energy in his peach core dantian had been sucked dry. He was going to deal the final blow. As Yang Wu drew closer and closer, AI Fei Li's expression finally became more serious. He could see Yang Wu's realm through the aura examination technique, but when Yang Wu used all of his strength, he also saw that Yang Wu seemed to have transformed into a dragon turtle. That shocking aura was not inferior to anyone in the general realm. This was a prodigy who could fight against those in a higher realm. This kind of prodigy is most likely feared by others, so he was sent to prison. What a pity. AI Fei Li sighed softly in his heart. He formed a seal with his hands, and the gray Xian Qi started to revolve around him. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew beside him, and he stood on one leg like a golden rooster. He slowly raised his lame leg, and the shadow of a foot suddenly appeared. 1 zhang, 2 zhang, 3 zhang. 3 meters of profound energy, 30 cauldrons of strength. The battle strength of a general realm cultivator was no exaggeration. This was AI Fei Li's true strength. One move to decide the victor. The blood in Yang Wu's body boiled, and his battle intent reached its peak. He forgot all of the fatigue from before and only saw the power of the foot in front of him. His hands formed the dragon turtle's aura, and he madly pressed forward. At this moment, Yang Wu was like a dragon turtle standing on a river, roaring angrily at the sky, wanting to go against the heavens. This feeling was similar to the first time he saw the dragon turtle sea-turning technique. Yang Wu fought to live from the brink of death and was able to touch the surface of the dragon turtle sea-turning technique. The dragon turtle came out of the sea, and it was like a river with endless waves. He kicked out with his lame leg as if he was no longer lame. His profound energy was astonishingly sharp, and it collided with the dragon turtle. There was no fanciness, only a real collision. Rumble. Blue and gray, profound energy clashed, and the sound of an explosion swept out. Waves of air rolled, and many sand and stones were crushed into pieces. A deep pit burst open where they were. A figure fell to the ground, and a smear of blood spilled into the sky. Chapter 63. A young man stood in the middle of a deep pit that was about 10 meters deep. His feet were embedded in the ground, and his body was towering and unmoving. One of his hands was clenched into a fist, while the other was spread open, maintaining an elegant posture. The other person who was sent flying smashed into the ground 7 or 8 meters away. Dust flew everywhere, and blood stained the ground. The person who was sent flying was AI Fei Li. The number 1 boss of the prison slaves had been defeated. The surrounding prison slaves stared with their eyes wide open, unable to believe what had just happened. In the past, they had seen this crippled middle-aged man send a person flying with a kick. How tyrannical and valiant it was. Today, this middle-aged man was defeated in a single move. It was really hard for them to accept. Yang Wu had won, but he did not have the slightest bit of joy. His strength was already depleted, and his body was overdrawn. The circulation of the Xian formula had slowed down, and he was in a state of weakness. He could collapse at any time. At this time, Shi Lungmei, who was already at the side, suddenly made her move. She bent her body slightly, holding the short crowbar in a reverse grip. With extremely light steps, she rushed over. The crowbar in her hand was already emitting an icy cold energy. When she was about 6 meters away from Yang Wu, she ruthlessly stabbed out. A trace of ice flower-like sharp force pierced towards Yang Wu's heart. It was really ruthless to the extreme. Yang Wu stared at the crowbar that suddenly pierced towards him. His body was no longer listening to his commands, and it was very difficult for him to dodge. When he resigned himself to his fate, Little Hay had already rushed into the air, using its small body to block the attack. Woof woof. Little Hay was only the size of an arm, as if it had never grown up. With such a small body blocking the attack, its body was sent flying far away, and it let out a miserable cry. Yang Wu watched this scene helplessly. His heart felt as if it had been ruthlessly stabbed, and the pain was unbearable. This was already the second time Little Hay had risked its life to save him. The first time was when they were fighting against the black gorilla, and now it was the second time. The first time, it was safe and sound, but this time, would it be able to withstand it? Damned little hay dog, Shirlong Mei cursed. With a light tap of her feet, she once again attacked Yang Wu. You're the damned one. Yang Wu's suppressed anger in his heart exploded at this moment. After he was imprisoned, it was all because of Little Hay's luck that he could have today. It had helped him many times, and he had already seen it as a partner. In front of his eyes, it once again and his partner, once again, it was to block this fatal blow. He only of his heart, and the pain, of his partner, of course, of his heart, his lungs. Yang Wu's eyes were bloodshot, and his blood vessels were boiling. His originally dried up dantian squeezed out the last bit of energy. Relying on a breath of anger, it exploded out from his 1,000 orifices. In an instant, another extraordinary meridian suddenly exploded, and 10 more acupoints were simultaneously broken. A new energy flowed through his entire body, and his fists and palms simultaneously bombarded towards Shirlong Mei. The dragon turtle roared furiously, and the rivers churned. The dragon turtle sea-turning technique instantly entered the minute subtlety stage, and its power increased explosively in an instant. A burst of Xianqi with a strength of 15 meters exploded like a dragon turtle's attack, instantly landing on Shirlong Mei's body. Shirlong Mei didn't even have the chance to escape before she was hit. Bang! The terrifying attack, the bloody attack, directly blew Shirlong Mei's body apart, turning her into a pile of broken limbs that scattered in all directions. The blood that dripped from her body was a ghastly sight. AI Fei Li, who was barely able to sit up, looked at Shirlong Mei's tragic death and sighed softly. Even I am not this brat's match, and he still dared to throw his life away. His death is truly not worth regretting. After Yang Wu killed Shirlong Mei, he rushed in the direction of Little Hay. He said nervously, "Little Hay, nothing must happen to you." When he arrived in front of Little Hay, he saw Little Hay lying motionlessly on the ground. AI Fei Li's eyes were about to pop out. Little Hay." Yang Wu cried out in a choked voice. Just as tears were about to flow out of his eyes, Little Hay suddenly opened its eyes and bounced up from the ground. It was as lively as a dragon and as lively as a tiger. There was nothing wrong with it at all. It even licked Yang Wu's outstretched hand. The wet feeling made him come back to his senses. "Little Hay, are you okay?" "Woof, woof." Little Hay wagged its tail and barked proudly. The hostility on Yang Wu's face disappeared. Then he slapped Little Hay and scolded, "Brat, you're not dead, yet you're still pretending to be dead. You really scare me to death." Little Hay did not get angry after being slapped away. Instead, it ran back and licked Yang Wu's hand. It was obvious that it was very close to him. Yang Wu picked up Little Hay and was no longer angry. He said, "You can't be so willful in the future. Although your small body can take a beating pretty well, if you die, you will become my savior." "No, my savior dog. That will make me lose face." "Woof, woof." Little Hay barked back. It was unclear whether it was agreeing or not. Yang Wu stroked it gently, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Sometimes, humans are not as good as dogs. How many people were as loyal as this Little Hay dog? Yang Wu put Little Hay on his shoulder. He felt that the flow of qi in his body was more than 2 to 3 times faster than usual. The absorption of the Xian-qi of heaven and earth was also much faster. His already dried-up dantian was rapidly gathering energy. Wisps of energy floated in his 1,000 holes. All of this was caused by another unblocked, extraordinary meridian. The human body not only had the 12 main meridians, but also 8 extraordinary meridians, also known as the 8 extraordinary meridians. Ordinary martial artists had only unblocked the 12 main meridians. Only after cultivating to the human general realm could one possibly unlock the 8 extraordinary meridians. Now, Yang Wu was only in the advanced warrior realm, but he had already unblocked 2 extraordinary meridians. The 2 most important extraordinary meridians were the Run and Do meridians. When the Ren and Du meridians were unblocked, one could be called a martial grandmaster. Many martial artists in the general realm might not be able to unlock these two meridians. As the saying goes, when the Ren and Du meridians are unblocked, 8 meridians are unblocked, and 100 meridians are unblocked. From this, one could see the importance of the Ren and Du meridians. Once these two meridians were unblocked, one could see the position of king. Those who did not unblock these two meridians would forever be stuck at the martial grandmaster realm. Yang Wu mistakenly thought that little He had been killed. In a fit of rage, he unblocked the Du meridians with a surge of blood qi. It could be said that he had profited greatly. Even if he was standing, he was absorbing energy much faster than usual. This was the benefit of unblocking the Ren and Du meridians. Yang Wu looked sideways at AI, Fei Li, and asked, "Can you give me the red steel rock now?" AI Fei Li's lame leg was bleeding. He did not force himself to stand up. Instead, he sat on the ground to stop the bleeding. When he heard Yang Wu's question, he nodded and said, "The winner takes all. The red steel rock is yours." "Good, then many thanks." Yang Wu did not plan to continue arguing with AI Fei Li. He was already very satisfied to be able to obtain their red steel rock. This was also the purpose of his trip. As for the prison slaves who did not know what to do, he did not want to stay and be their boss. "Wait, I have something to discuss with you." AI Fei Li called out to Yang Wu. Yang Wu did not turn his head and asked, "What is it?" "I want to ask you for a favor," AI Fei Li said. Yang Wu waved his hand and said, "This Viscount does not have the time to do such a thing." AI Fei Li then said, "I will not ask you for nothing. I will trade a general skill with you." Yang Wu quickly returned to AI Fei Li's side and said with a smile, "If there is anything you want, just say it. As long as it is within my power, I will not hesitate." It had to be said that Yang Wu's speed of change was unparalleled. AI Fei Li did not care about this. He knew that this young man in front of him was not an idiot. If there was no benefit in exchange, who would agree to do something for him? Go and send the red steel rock in the alliance to the 2nd district. AI Fei Li ordered the prison slaves who did not leave. The prison slaves knew that AI Fei Li had something to say to Yang Wu, so they all nodded and left. AI Fei Li then turned to Yang Wu and said, "I know that after you gather all the crimson steel ores, you will go to the Death Legion to clear your identity as a prison slave. I believe that with your strength, you have a 20 to 30% chance of coming back alive from the battlefield. So, I have a favor to ask of you. Please agree to it. You have good eyes. This Viscount will definitely be able to get rid of my identity as a prison slave alive. However, let's talk about your request first. If it is equal, I can consider it." Yang Wu said as he sat down beside AI Fei Li. "I want you to take care of a mother and daughter for me," AI Fei Li said with a hint of shyness. Yang Wu was speechless. This **T story sounded a little familiar. When he was younger, one of the guards of the Yang family told him about a pair of sworn brothers. One of them went to the battlefield, while the other said generously, "You can go to the battlefield without worry. I will take care of your wife and daughter." In the end, the one who went to the battlefield died, and his wife and daughter became his brother's wife and daughter. AI Fei Li saw the strange look in Yang Wu's eyes and immediately scolded. "Kid, I'm telling you, don't think of anything bad. I just want you to take care of them secretly. They're just ordinary people. Just let them live a normal life." "Oh, then let's talk about the reward," Yang Wu said disapprovingly. He was a Viscount, and he was not the kind of person who would take advantage of others. He cared more about the reward. "You haven't agreed yet," AI Fei Li said. "If I'm not satisfied with the reward, why the hell would I agree?" Yang Wu replied, unhappily. "All right, you know that I have a nickname Scimitar because I have a general skill called Scimitar. Cultivating it can increase one's attack power and speed. It can be considered a dual-use combat skill. If you agree to my request, I will teach it to you. What do you think?" AI Fei Li said in a deep voice. "Scimitar doesn't sound domineering at all, but it's barely passable. I agree to your request." Yang Wu reluctantly agreed. A general skill was rare, even among the Yang family's martial skills. He did not remember many of the battle skills back then, but now that one was delivered to his doorstep, it would be a waste not to take it. Then you have to swear an oath first. Otherwise, if I teach it to you and you don't do it, wouldn't it be a loss for me? This Viscount is handsome, mighty, and unparalleled in benevolence and righteousness. Do I look like someone who would go back on his word? Yes. Damn, you won't have any friends like this. Chapter 64. There weren't many incantations for this battle skill, but it was quite exquisite. At the minute subtlety stage, one could kick out 3 variations. At the proficient stage, one could kick out 6 variations. At the great success stage, one could kick out 12 variations. At the perfect stage, one could kick out 2 to 4 variations. It was a leg skill that went from shallow to deep. Other than that, it could also increase the user's speed by at least 50%. This was a very good battle skill for any martial artist. AI Fei Li was able to roam the martial arts world unhindered after he obtained this skill. He was able to come back from death's door again and again. AI Fei Li was already crippled, and it was very difficult for him to perform this skill perfectly. He could only use it to trade with Yang Wu in exchange for the safety of the mother and daughter. It was already very difficult for him to return alive to see the mother and daughter, but he still hoped that they could live on peacefully. He hoped that he didn't entrust them to the wrong person. Yang Wu left the first district with satisfaction. He had already remembered AI Fei Li's request. If he didn't die on the battlefield, he would definitely visit the mother and daughter. When Yang Wu returned to the border between the first and second districts, a tall man with a combat weapon stood in front of him, making him feel as if he was facing a great enemy. This man was wearing armor, and his face was very masculine. He was the mayor of the first district, Zhang Xiong. Yang Wu looked at Zhang Xiong cautiously. He didn't recognize Zhang Xiong. Back in the blood pit, he was fighting against Xue Xia, and Zhang Xiong had just arrived. They had a simple conversation, but at that time, Yang Wu didn't have the time to see what Zhang Xiong looked like, so he didn't know who Zhang Xiong was. Zhang Xiong, on the other hand, recognized Yang Wu. He looked at the cautious Yang Wu and said softly, "You broke in the new first district alone and injured 200 to 300 people. Dozens of people died on the spot, and 3 bosses were killed by you. Even a mayor can't compare to you." "You are?" Yang Wu asked curiously. He didn't feel any hostility from Zhang Xiong, so he relaxed a little. If the other party was here to pick a fight, he wouldn't know how to deal with it. He had already gathered enough red steel, ores, and could leave at any time. He really didn't want to cause any more trouble. "I'm Zhang Xiong, the mayor of the first district. We've met before." Zhang Xiong introduced himself. "So it's Mayor Zhang. Nice to meet you." Yang Wu faced Zhang Xiong and cupped his hands in greeting. After a pause, he said, "You are the Uncle Zhang that Sister Lan Xian spoke of?" "That's right. You've caused quite a ruckus today. If it weren't for me, you would have been nailed to the gates of the mountain prison," Zhang Xiong replied. Yang Wu felt a chill all over his body in an instant. After his martial arts strength had improved greatly, he felt that he could do whatever he wanted in the mountain prison. However, he forgot that he was still a criminal. Moreover, he had offended a noble. There were people here who were watching him all the time. As long as they gave the order, they could kill him on the spot. Even if he could kill someone in the general realm, so what? You don't have to be nervous. Mrs. already told me to protect you no matter what. What's more, you saved the warden's life. I can't just watch you die. It's just that you can't stay here any longer," Zhang Xiong said very seriously. Yang Wu nodded heavily and said, "I've already gathered enough red steel, ores, and handed them in. Mayor Zhang, please arrange for me to go to the Death Legion to make a military contribution." "You don't have to go to the Death Legion to make a military contribution. I'll write you a letter. There's a lieutenant in the barbarian army who is my brother. Maybe he can take care of you. You can join another army. That way, you won't have to die," Zhang Xiong said. Yang Wu said gratefully, "Thank you, Mayor Zhang. If you want to thank someone, thank Mississippi. She wants to see you," Zhang Xiong said. He paused for a moment and said, "To be honest, I really don't want you to see Mississippi. If it weren't for the fact that you saved the warden, I would have killed you right now." Zhang Xiong's body exuded a fierce aura. Yang Wu, who was unprepared, felt extremely uncomfortable in his chest. Fortunately, Zhang Xiong didn't really make a move and quickly withdrew his aura. At this time, Yang Wu came to his senses. It seemed that his current strength was still not worth mentioning in the eyes of others. The feeling of worship just now disappeared and was replaced by a kind of sigh. There's always someone better than you. The current Yang Wu wasn't enough to be proud. If he relaxed even a little bit, he would definitely die on the battlefield in the future. Yang Wu and Wan Lanxin didn't meet in the prison yard. Instead, they met in a hidden corner of the mountain prison in the first district. There were a few old pine trees here, and some weeds grew out of the rocks. They grew tenaciously despite the wind and water. Wan Lanxin was still wearing her armor. Her exquisite figure was full of wild temptation. She sat on a rock and leaned against an old tree trunk. The leopard lay on the side and dozed off. It was a picture of Beauty and the Beast. After Zhang Xiong brought Yang Wu here, he tactfully retreated, leaving only Yang Wu and Wan Lanxin. Wan Lanxin stood up and walked over to Yang Wu. Yang Wu looked at the valiant Wan Lanxin and grinned foolishly. If he hadn't made a promise with that slug in his heart, he felt that Wan Lanxin's position in his heart would be the most important. Wan Lanxin came in front of Yang Wu and reached out her delicate hand to wipe away the dried blood on Yang Wu's face. She asked, "Are you tired?" She was like a daughter-in-law waiting for her husband to come back from farming. She felt sorry for her husband. Yang Wu smiled and said, "I'm not tired, but I feel sorry for you." Wan Lanxin replied in her heart, but she didn't say it out loud. She just smiled faintly and said, "It's good that you're not tired. I prepared some food and wine for you. Come and eat." Yang Wu nodded and let Wan Lanxin pull his arm and walk toward the rock. There was a big bowl of meat, a plate of steamed buns, a stack of peanuts, and a jug of wine. They were all still warm, and it was obvious that they had just been sent here. Yang Wu's stomach was rumbling with hunger after the battle. He first grabbed a steamed bun and stuffed it into his mouth. Then, he picked up a large piece of meat and put it into his mouth. The way he ate wasn't refined at all. Wan Lanxin calmly watched Yang Wu eat. She didn't say anything, but her beautiful eyes revealed a trace of reluctance. After a while, the big bowl of meat and steamed buns were gone. Only peanuts and a jug of wine were left. Yang Wu threw a few peanuts in his mouth and drank a big mouthful of wine before saying, "Sister Lanxin, I've gathered 100,000 kilograms of red steel rocks. And I know, after today, you can leave this place. However, the future will be even more dangerous. You have to take care of yourself." Wan Lanxin lightly replied, "Don't worry, I won't die until I'm cleared of this injustice." Yang Wu's expression was extremely resolute. He paused and said, "Sister, I want to ask you for something. Please promise me." "Say it." "As long as I can do it," Wan Lanxin seriously replied. "I have two friends here. One is called Sun Do, known as Shou Ho, and the other is Little Man. I've gathered enough red steel rocks for them. I'll bring Shou Ho to the battlefield to continue to gain merit and get rid of the title of prison slave. However, Little Man is a servant girl. Once she is exiled, there will be many inconveniences. So I want to ask you to keep her by your side and give her some peace." Yang Wu spoke out the request in his heart. Shou Ho's talent was not bad. Yang Wu felt that he would become a great person in the future. The prerequisite was that he could survive on the battlefield. Their lives were the same. As for Little Man, she was a woman disguised as a man. If her identity was exposed, there would be no small amount of trouble. This was the reason why Yang Wu was worried. "All right, I'll do as you say." Wan Lanxin agreed without even thinking about it. "Then many thanks. When I survive on the battlefield and bring glory to my Yang family, I'll definitely treat you to a drink." Yang Wu said incomparably happily, "Only treat me to a drink." Wan Lanxin asked back. Yang Wu touched the bridge of his nose and asked, "Then Sister Lanxin, what else do you want?" "As long as I can do it, I'll do as you say." "I want you," Wan Lanxin said in her heart. She did not say it out loud. It was not that she was shy and did not dare to say it, but she did not want to give him any pressure. She also did not want to burden him. There was still an insurmountable gap between the two of them. Yang Wu saw that Wan Lanxin did not say anything and took out an item. It was impressively 8 flower seeds. It was the one he had obtained from the strange flower in the blood pit. There were a total of 108 seeds. He had already kept them with him. Now, he took out 8 seeds and gave them to Wan Lanxin, saying, "Sister Lanxin, I obtained these flower seeds from the blood pit. They will be of great benefit to your cultivation. Treat it as a little gift before I leave." Wan Lanxin looked at the glistening flower seeds in Yang Wu's palm and knew that these were not ordinary items. She did not stand on ceremony with Yang Wu and put away the 8 flower seeds, saying, "It seems that you have gained a lot from the blood pit. Otherwise, your strength would not have increased so quickly. In order to get rid of my current identity and to restore my Yang family's reputation, I must become strong as soon as possible. I do not want to become a fish on the chopping block." Yang Wu calmly replied, "You can definitely do it." Wan Lanxin cheered for Yang Wu. Yang Wu and Wan Lanxin calmly chatted for a while. There was not much reluctance, and they quickly separated. Wan Lanxin agreed to let Zhang Xiong arrange for his people to count the red steel ores and redeem Yang Wu, Shouho, and little man Yang Wu felt that everything was in order and that nothing would go wrong. So he returned to the second district to wait for the good news. Unfortunately, the good news did not come. Instead, an imperial edict arrived at the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison. Along with the imperial edict came a 5,000-man army. They were transferred from the barbarian army. Every one of them was filled with hostility, and their battle aura was exposed. Everywhere they went, dust would fly, and their momentum was grand. The arrival of the imperial edict and 5,000 soldiers shook the entire mountain prison and changed the situation there. Wan Tianlong's position as prison warden was removed and replaced by the new Wei Dian. Lai Feng was still the deputy warden, and Zhang Xiong was promoted to the position of deputy warden. Wan Tianlong was summoned back to the capital to take up a post. However, his position was now in name only. He was only an honorary prison warden general with no real power to speak of. Wan Tianlong was promoted in name only, but demoted in secret. He no longer held as much power as he did in the mountain prison. As for Lai Feng, who wanted to become prison warden, it was all for naught. He was unable to adjust his position. Zhang Xiong, on the other hand, took another step forward. Even he was surprised. As for the 5,000 soldiers, they were here to repair the damage that the wolf demon had inflicted on the mountain prison. These 5,000 soldiers were old soldiers who had killed the barbarian suppression army on the battlefield. Their battle prowess was much stronger than the original wardens. With them guarding the mountain prison, it was even more powerful. The red steel ores were only an ordinary material for refining weapons. However, they were used by all the armies of the Great Xia dynasty to refine weapons. Thus, they could not afford to lose them. The first thing the new prison warden Wei Dian did was not to set up the mountain prison's defense line. Instead, he ordered people to escort the prison slave Yang Wu to be executed. Chapter 65. After parting ways with Wan Lanxin, Yang Wu returned to the second district. He brought the remaining half a pot of wine back and gave it to Sun Rue, who was sleeping in the stone house. Sun Rue was a natural drinker. As soon as he smelled Yang Wu's wine, he immediately sobered up and said excitedly, there's wine. Where is it?" "Elder Sun, here's the wine," Yang Wu said to Sun Rue. "Good boy, let me have a taste," Sun Rue said impatiently. Yang Wu didn't keep Sun Rue in suspense. He threw the wine pot at Sun Rue. Sun Rue hurriedly caught the wine pot and complained, "Boy, don't waste this good new Hong. It smells like it's been preserved for at least 10 years. After saying that, he drank from the pot. He couldn't wait any longer. After taking a long sip, Sun Rue put the pot down and said intoxicatedly, "I'm sick of drinking gourd wine every day. It's nice to try other flavors once in a while." "As long as Elder Sun likes it," Yang Wu replied. He paused for a moment and said, "Elder Sun, I might leave here today. I might not have the chance to listen to your teachings in the future." Yang Wu felt that Sun Rue was an extraordinary person. Even if he couldn't sense the slightest bit of strength, he felt that Sun Rue was a real talent based on the advice he gave him. Okay. It's boring to stay in this damn place. It's good to leave. The outside world is what I miss," Sun Rue replied. He then said, Before I leave, I'll give you a few words. The hidden dragon in the abyss leaps to the sky. After saying that, he didn't wait for Yang Wu to ask and walked out of the stone house. Yang Wu thought carefully. A hidden dragon in the abyss leaps to the sky. Is this referring to my current situation? The next day, a group of prison guards suddenly rushed up the mountain and shouted, "Yang Wu, come out." Yang Wu didn't think much of it and walked out of the stone house. He looked at the prison guards and asked, "What's the matter? Come with us. The warden wants to see you." The leader of the prison guards said fiercely. Yang Wu didn't think too much about it. He thought that one Tianlong wanted to see him, or perhaps he had something to tell him. Thus, he followed the jailers. However, the jailers' attitude wasn't good. They scolded him and massaged him roughly. Yang Wu was well aware of his identity, so he did not resist. He did not say anything, but a bad premonition welled up in his heart. Could it be that something has happened? Yesterday, he had already reached an agreement with Wan Lanqin. He should be able to leave the mountain prison today, but the situation now seemed a little different. Soon, Yang Wu was escorted to the conference hall of the mountain prison. There were many people sitting in the conference hall. Yang Wu recognized two of them. They were the vice warden, Lai Feng, and the first district's mayor, Zhang Xiong. They sat at the head of the table on the left and right sides of the hall. However, the person sitting at the center of the table was not Wan Tianlong, but an unfamiliar face. This unfamiliar middle-aged man had a thin face, sunken eyes, a hooked nose, a protruding forehead, and hair tied up high. He was dressed in simple martial attire and had a ghost axe hanging from his body. A thick murderous aura emanated from his body. At first glance, he gave off the feeling of a ferocious person. This was the new warden, Wei Dian. He was a fierce general who had cut off the heads of 81 barbarians on the battlefield. It was precisely because Wei Dian's murderous aura was so strong that he even killed his own guards in his dreams at night. It was because of this that he was sent to this prison as a warden. He had to calm his mind and eliminate his murderous aura. Perhaps only then could he make further progress. At first, Lai Feng was somewhat dissatisfied. However, after seeing Wei Dian, he quickly put away his dissatisfaction. He was afraid that Wei Dian would directly draw his sword on him. Now that the imperial edict had just been issued and Wan Tianlong was forced to return to the royal city, Wei Dian had just taken office and called Yang Wu over. This was thought-provoking. Yang Wu's identity as a viscount had long been exposed. The fact that he had offended a marquis was also exposed. Presumably, this new warden was not here to support Yang Wu. He was probably here to cause trouble. "Kneel!" The warden behind Yang Wu pushed Yang Wu, who was still standing, and scolded. Yang Wu ignored the warden. He still stood as straight as a pine tree and did not kneel. "How dare you?" The warden was furious. He kicked Yang Wu's knee joint again, determined to make Yang Wu kneel. However, he still did not get what he wanted. Yang Wu stood firmly, completely unaffected by the warden's strength. The warden flew into a rage. Just as he was about to use his weapon, the new warden, Wei Dian, who was sitting in the middle, said faintly, "Drag him out and behead him." Who would have thought that the new warden would be so ruthless as soon as he opened his mouth? Everyone's expression changed. Yang Wu was undoubtedly a criminal. However, since he had not been sentenced to death, he could not be easily killed. However, this new warden did not seem to have any concerns. Just as the wardens were about to drag Yang Wu away and behead him, Yang Wu narrowed his eyes and said, "I don't accept this. It's up to you whether you accept it or not. It's up to me whether I kill him or not." Wei Jian did not waste time talking nonsense with Yang Wu. He completely ignored Yang Wu's response. The wardens grabbed Yang Wu. Yang Wu's face was full of anger, but it was useless. Unless he had the ability to escape, he would be dead for sure. Fortunately, Zhang Xiong did not just stand by and watch. He stood up and said, "Warden Wei, what you're doing is not right. Yang Wu is only a criminal who has been sent away. He has not been sentenced to death. It is not good for you to break the rules." "Oh, Deputy Warden Zhang wants to speak for this criminal." Wei Dian looked at Zhang Xiong with surprise. "Warden Wei, this is your first time here. You may not know the situation in the prison." Zhang Xiong is only speaking the truth. Zhang Xiong said, neither servile nor overbearing. Back in the day, Wan Tianlong had helped Zhang Xiong, and Yang Wu had saved Wan Tianlong. Today, Zhang Xiong was returning the favor. He did not owe anyone anything. Is that so, Deputy Warden Lai? Wei Jian turned to Lai Feng and asked. That is true, but Warden Wei must have his reasons for wanting to execute this criminal. Lai Feng went with the flow. He was more inclined to side with Wei Jian. Remember that I am now the warden here. I am a boss here. From today onwards, I am the reason here. I will kill whoever I say. If you dare to stop me, I will kill you. If you are not satisfied, you can complain to the imperial court. Wei Jian laughed wildly. He then waved his hand and said, take them away and execute them. Warden Wei, please reconsider. The king who is a guest in our prison was rescued by Yang Wu. Zhang Xiong stood up and shouted. Zhang Xiong had already made it clear that he and Wei Jian were at odds. He no longer looked weak. Of course, he was not stupid enough to fight force with force. Instead, he brought up Wang Jiuchong, the king who had not yet left. Only then could Wei Jian reign in his arrogance. Sure enough, even if Wei Jian was a fierce person who feared death, he still had to be cautious in front of King. He frowned and asked Lai Feng, is that true? Lai Feng did not dare to hide it. He nodded lightly and said, it is related to this kid. However, the king has already accepted my son as a disciple in name. I don't think he remembers who this kid is. Deputy Warden Lai, do you dare to guarantee this? If the king asks about this matter one day and learns that his savior has been killed, will you dare to take responsibility if he angers Warden Wei? Zhang Xiong asked. He paused for a moment and said, Yang Wu has already collected 50,000 kilograms of red steel, and handed in enough merit points. I think we should send him to the Death Legion and let him fend for himself. Zhang Xiong was determined to protect Yang Wu. This way, he would be worthy of Wan Lanxin and Wan Tianlong. Wei Jian did not immediately reply. His eyes kept darting around as he fell into deep thought. Lai Feng did not speak again. Everything was up to Wei Jian. Yang Wu was very nervous. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he really did not want to escape prison. If he did, he would never be able to get rid of his identity as a prison slave. His family would be implicated again. At the same time, he was afraid of death. He did not want to die young. This guy in front of me replaced Uncle Wan's position. I wonder how he and Sister Lanxin are doing. I hope they are fine. Yang Wu's heart was worried about Wan Lanxin. Yesterday, he was still begging her for help. He did not expect the situation to be different today. I have thought about it. As long as you can take one of my attacks and not die, I will give you away to the Death Legion. If you can't, then so be it. No matter who comes to trouble me, I will take care of it. After Wei Jian said this, he suddenly rushed out of the chair like a fierce tiger. His palm mixed with the sound of a tiger slapping towards Yang Wu's chest. Who would have thought that a dignified prison warden would be so ruthless? He attacked without giving anyone the slightest chance to prepare. Everyone present did not expect that by the time they reacted, Wei Dian's palm had already landed in front of Yang Wu's chest. Yang Wu immediately flew out like a broken kite. Puff! A long mouthful of blood spurted out. His body smashed several feet away from the hall and fell heavily. Everyone thought that Yang Wu was bound to die. Warden Wei, Zhang Xiong shouted at Wei Jian with a face full of anger. What? Zhang Xiong, do you want to exchange a few moves with me? I just came back from the battlefield. I don't mind leaving some souvenirs on you. Wei Jian looked at Zhang Xiong with a playful expression. Humph. I will ask Warden Wei for advice in the future. Zhang Xiong snorted coldly and rushed out of the hall. When he arrived in front of Yang Wu, he did not check whether Yang Wu was dead or alive. He carried Yang Wu and left directly. It seems that it is not easy for me to be the new prison warden. Wei Jian murmured with a murderous look in his eyes. Lai Feng's body trembled slightly and said, Why do you say that, warden? I, Lai Feng, will follow you loyally in the future. It was true that Lai Feng was in the advanced general realm, but he could sense that Wei Dian's strength was not inferior to Wan Tianlong's. He also sensed a terrifying, murderous aura from Wei Jian, which made his hair stand on end. He was really afraid that Wei Jian would kill him at the slightest disagreement. Wei Jian had made an example of Yang Wu, not only because of orders from above, but also to establish his authority in the prison. It was clear that he was not a simple boor and was quite shrewd. Wei Jian turned to Lai Feng and smiled faintly. With Vice Warden Lai's words, this warden is relieved. The reason why this warden took action against a small prison slave was only because that kid offended the higher-ups. This warden is only helping the higher-ups solve this problem. This subordinate understands. Lai Feng replied, follow this warden well in the future. This warden will definitely not treat you unfairly, huh? Chapter 66. It was raining heavily, and the flowers were falling from the sky. It seemed that the rain had accumulated for so long that it was going to finish all the rain that had not fallen before. Many prison slaves in the mountain prison began to suffer. They did not dare to hide in their nests for fear that they would drown if their nests were completely flooded. They could only find some rock caves for shelter or big trees to hide. But no matter where they hid, they were destined to be washed away by the heavy rain. Some prison slaves who were in good spirits were dancing in the rain. They had not taken a bath for a long time, and it was rare for them to feel comfortable. Some of them hated the rain because they did not know where to sleep tonight. Those who were weaker might die from the cold during or after the rain. There was a man who had just dominated the prison slaves and became the most powerful prison slave boss in history. His situation was worse than theirs. This man was Yang Wu, who had been injured by Wei Jian with one palm strike. Wei Jian did not show any mercy at all. With his strength at the peak of the general realm, he smashed Yang Wu's sternum with one palm strike. Yang Wu's breath was weak. Even a martial artist in the general realm would not be able to survive. Yang Wu was already lucky to be able to hang on to his last breath. Zhang Xiong rushed all the way to Wan Lanxin's courtyard with Yang Wu in his arms. Wan Lanxin had not returned to the capital with her father yet. She still had to tidy up a little before they could set off. However, the heavy rain came suddenly, so they could not leave. When Wan Lanxin saw Yang Wu vomiting blood, her heart broke. She bit her lips and asked, "Uncle Zhang, who did this?" "The new prison master is new. The guy is really ruthless. His first order was to kill Yang Wu. Although I argued with him for a while, that guy attacked Yang Wu without saying anything. I couldn't stop him even if I wanted to. Now I'm afraid this guy can't make it. I brought him here to let you see him for the last time." Zhang Xiong made a long story short. "I'm going to kill him," Wan Lanxin shouted with a strong, killing intent. Just as Wan Lanxin was about to rush out and kill someone, a hand grabbed her arm and a voice said with difficulty, "Sister, don't go. Little brother Wu, you must hold on. I won't let you die." When Wan Lanxin saw that Yang Wu had woken up, she took out a pill and stuffed it into Yang Wu's mouth. She looked at him, and her tears flowed uncontrollably. Yang Wu smiled bitterly and murmured, I won't die. Don't be nervous. Go help me with the thing I asked you to do. I'll be fine after some rest." After saying that, Yang Wu closed his eyes and reluctantly operated the supreme 9 profound arts, hoping that he really had an immortal body and could recover from this fatal injury. After Yang Wu swallowed the peach core, his body had become completely different. The power emitted from the 1,000 holes in the peach core's dantian was not only strong, but also had a strong recovery ability. Especially after swallowing the Xiantian profound essence qi, the healing ability had become even more powerful. The 1,000 holes in the peach core's dantian spat out clouds and clouds, which quickly absorbed the medicinal power of the pill and divided it. It began to nourish Yang Wu's injuries. The broken bones were reconnecting, the internal organs were healing, and the blood clots were gradually dispersing. Yang Wu's breath stabilized in a very short time, which made Wan Lanxin and Zhang Xiong, who were waiting by his side, feel surprised. "Miss, what kind of elixir did you give him to eat? It stabilized this brat's injuries so quickly?" Zhang Xiong asked. "I don't have any elixir. It's just an ordinary healing pill." Wan Lanxin replied, "That's strange. This brat's breath stabilized. It seems that his life is saved." Zhang Xiong said, "No matter what, this enmity must be remembered. Wan Lanxin said sternly. Then she said to Zhang Xiong, Uncle Zhang, I'm not going back to the capital with my father. I'm going to join the army. Uncle Zhang, please show me the way. Miss, don't scare me, Zhang Xiong exclaimed. I'm serious. This is the only way I can become stronger faster. It won't be long before I can surpass the new warden. When the time comes, I'll openly challenge him. Wan Lanxin said very seriously. Zhang Xiong's eyes turned cold. He spread out his hands and said, I think it's better to ask the warden first. I don't dare to make a decision. Okay, I'll go find him. Wan Lanxin responded very simply and went to find her father. Zhang Xiong looked at the leaving Wan Lanxin and then looked at the lying Yang Wu. He sighed in his heart and said, Lucky brat. The new 17th district was made up of the 65th, 66th, 67th, and 68th districts. When the 4 districts' slaves gathered together, it was natural that new conflicts would occur. Shouho was the original boss of the 68th district. He had long since broken free from Yang Wu's halo and made Fei Lung, Bai's, and the others submit to him. However, the original 68th district was the weakest district. When the 4 districts merged, the leaders of the other districts naturally wanted to take over the crimson steel ores of the other districts. Whether it was to pay their respects to their superiors or to pay tribute to their superiors, they would fight for more resources. Shouho also encountered such a situation. However, those who came to bully him were bullied by him. He fought with the original 65th, 66th, and 67th district leaders. In the end, he broke through to become a primary warrior and suppressed those leaders in one fell swoop, becoming the new boss of the 17th district. For this, he paid a heavy price. If it weren't for his body's endurance, even if he won against those people, he might not have been able to sit in his current position. Of course, Little Man also played a part. When Shouho was surrounded by enemies, Little Man, who had always been soft and weak, suddenly exploded with power, beating the opposing prison slaves until they didn't know what to do. How could this weak-looking girl be stronger than Shouho, who was like a chicken coop? Shouho was also shocked by Little Man's sudden explosion. He really didn't know that Little Man was so strong. Shouho asked Little Man, how did she suddenly become so strong? Little Man clenched her fists and answered seriously, because I want to protect young master in the future. Shouho was moved to tears. If his big brother heard this, he wondered if he would feel the same. On this day, Shouho braved the rain to count the red steel ores. The 4 districts added together allowed him to collect nearly 20,000 red steel ores. He was quite satisfied. He believed that it wouldn't be long before he could collect 100,000 kilograms of red steel ores for his boss to leave this damn place first. However, before his wish came true, a prison guard came to find him and Little Man. He said that someone had paid them enough red steel ores so they could leave the mountain prison and prepare to go to the Death Legion. At the same time, they were led to Wan Lanxin's courtyard. Wan Lanxin was the same as her father, preparing to leave the mountain prison. However, with Zhang Xiong around, it was a small matter to get the 2 of them to come over. Shouho and Little Man nervously came to this quiet and secluded courtyard. They didn't know if it was because they felt cold from being soaked by the rain, or if it was for some other reason, but they both huddled up tightly, looking very restrained and uneasy. Soon, they saw a valiant and formidable military beauty. It wasn't their first time seeing her. A few days ago, when the wolf demon attacked for the first time, they had already seen her mighty and extraordinary side. Greetings, my lady. Shouho and Little Man both knelt down nervously. They had already heard from Yang Wu that this military beauty in front of them was the daughter of the prison warden. She was the chief of a district and had an extraordinary status. Get up, Wan Lanxin said lightly. Then, her gaze fell on Little Man. She used her hand to lift Little Man's chin. Her beautiful eyes stared at the Little Man closely, scaring the Little Man so much that she averted her eyes, not daring to look directly at her. Her palms were sweating from nervousness. "You're a Little Man?" Wan Lanxin asked again. Little Man replied softly, "Yes. Follow me from now on," Wan Lanxin said. Little Man was stunned at first. Then, she pinched the corner of her clothes and said, "No, I won't follow you." "Why?" You should know that if you follow me, not only will you be able to get rid of your identity as a prison slave, you will also be able to live a stable life. You won't have to worry about being exposed as a girl. Why not? I, I. Little man stuttered and couldn't speak. This kind of opportunity was like a pie falling from the sky for any prison slave. However, little man only had one figure in her heart. She only wanted to be his servant and didn't want to follow anyone else. Wan Lanxin didn't force little man. A faint smile appeared on her face. Then, she looked at Shouho and said, "If you were her, would you stay?" Shouho replied shyly, I probably would, but I'm not her." Wan Lanxin smiled and didn't ask any more questions. She said seriously, "You are all good. Go and rest. I have my own arrangements for you." After a pause, she added, "This is also Yang Wu's arrangement for you." Young master, where is he?" Little man asked impatiently. "That's right. Can you let us meet, big brother?" Shouho asked. "Don't worry. You will see him soon." Wan Lanxin replied and walked to a room next to her. Shouho and little man didn't know that they were only a wall away from Yang Wu. Shouho and little man were placed in different rooms. Even if it was the simplest room, they were still very satisfied. They couldn't remember how long it had been since they last enjoyed the peace under the roof. Shouho was removed from his shackles. After soaking in hot water, he changed into simple clothes and lay on the bed. He stared at the ceiling for a long time, unable to fall asleep. Big brother is really big brother. I thought I could help him. Now that I think about it, it's already amazing that I didn't drag him down. Shouho sighed. Shouho didn't get carried away. He quickly sat cross-legged. He didn't think that he had really gotten rid of his identity as a prison slave. The last trial was the real test of life and death. Surviving was the only thing that mattered. In the other room, Xiao Man took off her prison clothes, revealing her fair and rosy skin. There was also a piece of cloth that was tightly tied around her chest. She untied the cloth, and a pair of plump white rabbits that were not restrained instantly jumped up and down. It was so seductive and moving. She gently stroked the plump white rabbits. Her eyes were blurred as she muttered, "If only young master was here." Chapter 67. Yang Wu cannot die. He really had an immortal body. His recovery speed was astounding. Wei Dian's palm strike had shattered his chest. If it were any other person, they would have died on the spot. However, he was still able to escape death with a single breath. His Ren and Du meridians had been opened. The energy in his Dantian flowed quickly. It was unimaginable to ordinary people. In half a day, Yang Wu's injuries had recovered by 70%, even though he was still unconscious. He woke up and found himself in Wan Lanxin's room. It was not his first time here, so he could tell a glance. At this moment, Wan Lanxin walked in. Seeing Yang Wu sitting up, she asked in surprise, "Brother Wu, are you all right?" "Sister, I'm fine." Yang Wu smiled when he saw Wan Lanxin. He then asked, "How long have I been injured?" "Less than a day. You should rest a little more. No one will dare to touch you here." Wan Lanxin came to Yang Wu's side and said softly. Yang Wu immediately frowned and said, "Sister, I have to leave this place immediately. Send me to the Death Legion as soon as possible." "Why are you in such a hurry?" "Even if my father is not the warden and I am no longer the district mayor, no one will dare to do anything to you here." Wan Lanxin replied. Yang Wu shook his head and said, "You don't understand. I can feel that the new warden wants to kill me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be so badly injured. I have to go. Once he finds out that I'm still alive, he will definitely find an excuse to attack me again." Wan Lanxin realized the seriousness of the matter. She nodded and said, "Okay, I'll arrange it. By the way, tell my brothers, Skinny Monkey and Little Man, to leave as well." Yang Wu said, "I'll let them come to see you." Wan Lanxin responded and hurried out of the room. Yang Wu sat on the bed and circulated the profound art to speed up the recovery of his injuries. He thought in his heart, "I'll remember this enmity first. In the future, I'll definitely slap that guy to death with my own hands." A dignified warden attacked a prison slave. It was enough to show how much his enemy hated him. Yang Wu had just sat for a while when he heard a knock on the door. Then he saw Skinny Monkey and Little Man coming in one after another. "Big brother, young master." Skinny Monkey and Little Man shouted happily when they saw Yang Wu. Yang Wu looked at the two people who looked brand new. His face showed a gratified expression. Skinny Monkey still had his messy hair. His body didn't seem to have grown taller or fatter. He just looked cleaner. As for Little Man, the change was a little big. The black powder on her face was new, revealing her tender appearance with bright eyes and white teeth. It was really charming. The only pity was that the place where she should be developing was still as flat as a river. It's good that you're fine. We're going to leave this place together, Yang Wu said to them seriously. We'll listen to Big Brother's orders. The two people replied in unison. Soon, Wan Lanxin appeared again. She said to Yang Wu, it's raining heavily outside. It might be a little difficult to travel from this mountain. It's okay. No one would expect us to leave at this time. As long as you write down the merit points we've handed in and recorded, we won't be caught by others in the future. Yang Wu calmly replied. I've already asked Uncle Zhang to do it in the shortest time possible. There won't be any mistakes. Wan Lanxin replied. Then we should go, Yang Wu said as he stood up. Okay, I'll go with you. Wan Lanxin softly replied. Sister, don't be like this. You'll be implicated. Yang Wu refused. There's no need to say more. Wan Lanxin straightforwardly said. Then, she didn't wait for Yang Wu to say anything else. She casually packed some simple clothes, picked up her combat weapon, and carried the luggage. Then, she took Yang Wu and the other two out of the door. Outside her courtyard, 2 carriages were already prepared. She arranged for an empty carriage to leave the courtyard first. Then, she arranged for Yang Wu and the others to sit in the other carriage and leave in another direction. Yang Wu secretly praised Wan Lanxin's thoughtful arrangements. However, he didn't know why, but he still felt a little uneasy in his heart. So, he called Little Hay. Little Hay was naturally intelligent. After Yang Wu was brought to Wan Lanxin's place, it had already followed them. Since Yang Wu wanted to leave, it naturally wouldn't stay here any longer. Little Hay, immediately go and inform the Wolf King to come and save us. Yang Wu instructed Little Hay. Shou Ho and Little Man, who were beside Yang Wu, were shocked. Yang Wu and Little Hay could summon the Wolf King? Woof woof. Little Hay barked twice and jumped out of the carriage. It didn't care about the heavy rain as it rushed into the depths of the mountain range. Yang Wu said to Shou Ho and Little Man, I'm afraid we'll be ambushed. If you two stay here, you might be able to escape. Big Brother, what do you mean by that? Are you telling us to escape alone? Shou Ho said with some dissatisfaction. Little Man said weakly, I'll go wherever young master goes. Good. No matter what happens later, you two will sit in the carriage. Yang Wu looked at them with satisfaction. Wan Lanxin wasn't in the carriage. She was riding on a leopard and carrying a jade umbrella outside the carriage. When they left the prison gates, she would need to mediate. Who didn't know Wan Lanxin in the mountain prison? After seeing her come out, no one dared to stop her and directly let her pass. Wan Lanxin urged the leopard to run faster. The prison guard driving the carriage also increased his strength to whip the horses, bringing the people in the carriage to escape. It was a young prison guard who looked to be about the same age as Yang Wu. He was the one who had delivered the wooden bucket to Yang Wu before. His name was Su Xiaoqiang, and he was Wan Lanxin's most trusted aide. Otherwise, she wouldn't have let him drive the carriage. These prison slaves are really lucky. My young miss actually personally escorted them out of prison and even let me, a future king, be their coachman. They have enough face. Su Xiaoqiang sighed with dissatisfaction in his heart. On top of a pavilion in the mountain prison courtyard, a figure stood facing the wind and rain. He was like an old pine tree, not affected in the slightest. He looked at the departing figures and the carriage and whispered, "A grown girl can't be kept at home." The rain was very heavy, almost blurring people's vision. However, no matter how heavy the rain was, it couldn't stop the passers-by from hurrying on. As the journey was bumpy, nothing out of the ordinary happened. However, Yang Wu's uneasiness grew more and more nervous. He thought to himself, I hope I'm just being paranoid. Just as they left the mountain prison, a group of people appeared in front of them, blocking their way. There weren't many people in this group, only 5. However, each of them was covered in Xian armor, which blocked the pouring rain outside. Their bodies weren't wet at all. These 5 people didn't cover their faces. They blocked the way openly, each holding a different weapon in their hands. They didn't hide their strong, killing intent at all. "Get out of the way." Wan Lanxin pointed her spear at the 5 people and shouted. The 5 people didn't respond at all. They raised their weapons and charged at Wan Lanxin and the carriage. How could Wan Lanxin stop 5 general realm experts by herself? Wan Lanxin didn't rush forward immediately. She held a sparkling and translucent flower seed in her hand and threw it into her mouth. Then, she waved her spear and met them head-on. Wan Lanxin was good at using the spear. Moreover, her spear technique had reached the realm of great success. As she swept her spear, the spear flashed. Many raindrops formed a line and rushed toward the 5 people. Her xianqi had already reached a distance of 10 meters. Among the 5, one of them moved half of his body. The saber in his hand cut through the water instantly, cutting off Wan Lanxin's spearlight. Many water droplets were blown away. This person continued to step forward, as if he was flying in the air, and chopped down towards Wan Lanxin's head again. One slash turned into 3 slashes. All 3 slashes broke through the heavy rain and went toward Wan Lanxin's head, trying to cut her into 3 pieces. Wan Lanxin shouted. She held her spear in front of her, forming a spear light to block the 3 slashes. At the same time, she spun her spear rapidly. Countless raindrops containing Xian Qi splashed toward the man. The man with the saber blocked again and again. The saber shadows turned into rainbows again and again. He was defending and waiting for an attack. His saber technique was amazing. Another person stabbed at Wan Lanxin angrily with his sword. Like an arrow in the rain, he broke through layers of obstacles and instantly stabbed at Wan Lanxin's heart. A saber and a sword attacked from the front and back. Xian Qi was like a rainbow, and the atmosphere was turbulent. There was no sign of weakness in Wan Lanxin's eyes. The Xian Qi in her whole body flowed. The flower seeds that she had just swallowed had a powerful force that instantly rushed to her limbs, causing her strength to soar. The long spear in her hand either flicked or stabbed. She displayed exquisite attacks and forcibly blocked the saber and sword. The other 3 people attacked the carriage separately. 3 powerful xianqi attacks came from different directions. One slashed at Su Xiaoqiang, the coachman, one fell on the horse, and the last one blasted at the carriage. The 3 attacks were merciless. "Do you think I'm a cabbage? You can chop me as you please." Su Xiaoqiang screamed. A saber had appeared in his hand at some point. He faced the attack that was coming at him. Su Xiaoqiang was about the same age as Yang Wu, but his realm was no less than that of Yang Wu. He had reached the advanced warrior realm. Su Xiaoqiang blocked the attack of the general realm, but he also fell from the carriage. The horse that was not driven by him was directly cut into pieces. The horse's blood spilled all over the ground and was immediately washed clean by the heavy rain. The attack on the carriage was no longer blocked. Just as the carriage was about to be cut into pieces, the carriage took the initiative to self-destruct. Bang! A figure dashed out from within, and a reverse profound energy forcefully blocked the attack. The carriage did not have a horse, but it still rolled down the mountain. There were 3 people in the carriage. There was no cover, so they were all drenched by the heavy rain. "Jump out of the carriage." The youth who blocked the attack shouted at the other 2 people. The 3 people jumped out of the carriage at the same time, without thinking. The youth took the initiative to pounce on one of the enemies and shouted, "If you want to kill me, Yang Wu, you have to pay the price in blood." Chapter 68. The rain continued to fall. Millions of raindrops were like curtains dripping onto the ground, washing away the stains and nourishing everything in this place. Yang Wu leaped through the rain like a dragon, soaring into the sky. His Xian Qi continued to rise, and Chani had already reached the stage where it was slowly turning into armor. His palm struck out with the rain, and a spiraling force tore through the air. It was as if 2 water dragons were roaring and charging, and its might was extremely domineering. Yang Wu had barged into the first district by himself, trampling on 4 bosses in succession, and opened his Conception and Governor Meridians as well as 130 acupoints. His battle prowess was already comparable to a true General Realm cultivator. Even if he had only recovered less than 80% of his battle prowess, it was still enough to face the enemy. The spiraling palm force met the golden staff force that was striking down from the sky. The two forces collided, and the rain splattered wildly, and Xianqi splattered in all directions. His palm struck out repeatedly, and every strike seemed to have water dragons roaring angrily. The golden staff was also very powerful. Every strike seemed to have the power to destroy mountains and split the earth. It was terrifyingly powerful. The person wielding the golden staff was an early General Realm cultivator, and his strength was enough to strike out with 30 cauldrons of force. Ordinary warriors would be smashed into meat paste if they blocked this attack. However, Yang Wu's palms were like iron palms, and he was not afraid at all. He continuously struck out and did not suffer any damage. Yang Wu had been tempered by the companion wolf blood crystal, and his physique had already improved. Ordinary soldiers would not be able to injure him, let alone when he had Chani on him. In this reign, Yang Wu fought with his opponent. Suddenly, he had a realization. The whirling wave palm continued to increase in power, and the spiraling force sucked in the falling rain to form an even stronger attack. Elder Turtle's wave, overturning the heavens technique, appeared in Yang Wu's mind. These curtains of water were like endless waves. He could borrow the power of the rainstorm and turn it into waves to attack. Yang Wu entered a mysterious state. He had already forgotten about life and death. He merely stepped forward, striking out with palm after palm. Furthermore, they were all the same action, the same move. Whirling wave palm. The spiraling force became faster and faster, and a terrifying vortex seemed to appear between his palms. The condensed rainwater turned from a water dragon into a dragon and fiercely struck forward. The enemy with the golden rod was horrified. He cried out involuntarily, "Isn't this kid half dead? How can he still possess such abnormal strength?" He no longer had the space to think. He poured all of his power into the golden rod. The rod flashed with a golden light and struck down mercilessly, trying to break the spiral force. The rod rainbow was like a pillar pressing down on the rainwater and turning it into a vacuum. The force of the fall was enough to shatter mountains and rocks. Bang! A thunderous sound rang out, and the water splashed in all directions. The golden rod slipped out of the man's hand. Blood spurted out from the web between his thumb and forefinger as his body flew backward. He was about to lose Warrior. This was definitely an inconceivable scene. After Yang Wu gained the upper hand, the Xianqi in the 12 standard meridians and the Ren and Du meridians surged. His flesh opened and closed, absorbing an endless amount of Xianqi. His battle prowess did not decrease, but instead increased. In an instant, he recovered to his peak state. All 130 acupoints emitted a bright light, and Chan Yi appeared even more dazzling. His palm struck out again, and the extremely spiraling palm force crashed into the enemy's body. It instantly broke through the enemy's Xian armor and shattered his internal organs. After Yang Wu withdrew his palms, Chan Yi retracted, and he allowed the rainwater to hit his body. A faint smile appeared on his face. The whirling wave palm has reached perfection. It was already considered good for anyone to be able to reach proficiency in a battle skill. Those who were able to reach great success in a battle skill were those who had practiced it 100 times and had outstanding comprehension ability. Thus, it was undoubtedly extremely difficult to cultivate a battle skill to perfection. Now, Yang Wu had cultivated the torrential storm spear technique and the whirling wave palm to perfection. His comprehension ability was definitely extraordinary. In other directions, Wan Lanxin was not defeated in a 1 versus 2 battle. On the contrary, she gradually gained the upper hand. Her strength continued to increase, and her Xian armor continued to thicken. She forced her opponents to continuously retreat. One of them was even hit by her spear, and blood flowed endlessly. Wan Lanqing's talent was outstanding. If she had not missed the disciple recruitment period of Mauname due to her age, she could have definitely become an outstanding disciple of that celestial mountain and blessed land. Her realm would have soared by leaps and bounds. Now, she had obtained the energy of the exotic flower seed. This was one of the crystallizations that nurtured first embryo profound essence chi. She had used her strength to refine it in battle, and her realm continued to increase. She was already close to the lieutenant general realm. It was no wonder that the two opponents could not stop her. If she had not been worried about Yang Wu's safety and diverted her attention to Yang Wu's situation, she would have already stabbed the two people in front of her with her spear. In another direction, Su Xiaoqiang was in an extremely difficult situation. He, a guy who claimed to be a king in the future, was being chased by a general realm assassin. You just wait. When I become a king in the future, I will definitely chop off your dog head and use it as a urinal. Su Xiaoqiang shouted as he hid from place to place. Su Xiaoqiang's combat strength was not bad, but there was still a big gap between him and a general realm martial artist. Fortunately, this guy's life-saving means were first class, and he had a strange body movement. He kept fleeing in the rain. Except for a few scratches on his body, he was not in any fatal danger. This made the general realm assassin extremely depressed. As for Shou Ho and Little Man, they were in danger. Shou Ho had just entered the realm of a beginner warrior, and Little Man was still a high-level martial soldier. Although they had brute strength comparable to that of a warrior, they were no match for a general realm assassin. Fortunately, Shou Ho was born with divine eyes, which allowed him to see through the assassin's attack methods. He dragged Little Man with him as he dodged. He was not completely unscathed. He had already been stabbed twice. Fortunately, his vitals were not hit. Otherwise, he would have been dead. Go away, go away. Little Man grabbed the rocks beside her and kept throwing them at the assassin. She could not watch Shou Ho be killed without doing anything. The rocks she threw were not weak, but the assassin shattered them with a raise of his hand. He approached her step by step, raising his long sword high and slashing down at her. Little Man dodged. Shou Ho, who had just been sent flying by a kick, cried out involuntarily. Just as the long sword was about to hit Little Man's head, a golden rod came in and blocked the long sword, stopping it. Little Man, back away! Before Little Man could recover from her shock, she heard Yang Wu's voice. Yang Wu swung his golden rod and attacked the assassin repeatedly. The golden rod was suffused with blue, profound energy, and like a long spear, it shot out countless arrows in the torrential rain. These arrows were formed from rainwater, and their destructive power was extremely strong. The assassin swung his sword and cut down all the rain arrows. However, he only cut down the rain arrows on the surface. He did not realize that the rainwater behind him was being drawn. The rainwater was like sharp blades, falling on the assassin's body, trying to break through his profound armor. How can my general armor be so easily broken by you? The sword-wielding assassin ignored the rain blades and said with incomparable pride. The sword in his hand was incomparably brave as he wildly slashed. This assassin was a war general who had come from the battlefield. The stance of the daredevil third brother was even more extraordinary. His sword moves came one after another, forming a sword net that attacked Yang Wu with all his might. This assassin was a bit stronger than the one Yang Wu had killed before. His swordsmanship was even more brilliant. Yang Wu had no choice but to treat him seriously. His torrential storm spear art was perfectly displayed, and it was not inferior to his opponent at all. Day by day, the assassin's powerful sword skill was like a sun, evaporating the falling rainwater. That majestic sword power instantly shot out, directly stabbing towards Yang Wu's waist. Yang Wu's gaze tightened, and he dodged without thinking. His clothes were cut, and a stream of blood seeped out. It was a ghastly sight. The assassin grinned hideously and slashed again and again. One sword and one sun. The sword power was connected from head to tail without any break. It was worthy of being a killing sword on the battlefield. Its power was quite extraordinary. Yang Wu used his staff as a spear, and the torrential storm spear art attacked without any hesitation. It was already very amazing that he could tie with his opponent. After all, his opponent was a real general. The limit of the torrential storm spear art is not limited to this. In such an environment, it should be able to exert more power. Yang Wu always felt that the torrential storm spear art still had some flaws. After secretly pondering, he began to focus more on using the torrential storm spear art. The torrential storm spear art emphasized speed, swiftness, and fierceness. Only by mastering these three elements could the spear art erupt with the most powerful power. Yang Wu had already mastered the essence, but when he used the torrential storm spear art in the torrential rain, he felt as if he was there. The torrential storm spear art should have been created in such an environment. He wanted to find the essence of the original move created by that person, so that he could exert the most powerful attack power and even exceed the original range. As the heavy rain fell, Yang Wu waved his spear faster and faster. It was so fast that even he found it hard to believe. It was as if his spear was in sync with the rhythm of the rain. Yang Wu moved faster and faster, so fast that the assassin was overwhelmed. The Xian armor on his body was hit again and again. At first, the Xian armor could withstand it, but after 10 strikes and 100 strikes, the Xian armor finally could not bear it and was directly cracked, dying. After Yang Wu used the fourth move of the torrential storm spear art, the torrential storm spear art, the assassin's defense was completely destroyed. His body was hit repeatedly by the golden rod and was deformed and killed. Yang Wu killed 2 experts in the general realm in a row. Not only did he not feel exhausted at all, but he also felt that he had just warmed up and his fighting spirit had just been ignited. Aren't you losers here to kill me? I've already killed 2 losers. Hurry up and come here. Yang Wu looked at the 2 people who were fighting with Wan Lanxin and the one who was chasing Su Xiaoqiang and shouted in surprise. Yang Wu's words were like thunder, blasting the minds of the 3 assassins into chaos. The 5 of them had similar strength. They were all in the primary general realm. On the battlefield, they were all good at fighting alone. However, 2 of them had been killed by a person who was judged to be seriously injured. This was absolutely unbelievable. At this moment, Wan Lanxin took a step forward, and the Xian armor on her body instantly formed 2 layers. Her momentum was astonishing, and she reached the intermediate general realm in one fell swoop. The long spear in her hand condensed the rainwater into a dragon and directly pierced through the abdomen of one of the killers. Then, she swept her lotus leg and kicked the other one into the mud, causing him to vomit blood. The killer who was chasing Su Xiaoqiang was scared out of his wits and hurriedly retreated. Su Xiaoqiang, however, summoned up his courage and shouted, "Don't leave if you dare. Believe it or not, I'll beat you to death. Don't think that you can be arrogant just because I let you off a few times just now. Are you afraid now?" It had to be said that this guy was extraordinarily thick-skinned. At this time, a shadow walked out of the rain calmly and said, "Wan Tianlong has a good daughter. It would be great if she could become my daughter-in-law." Chapter 69. It was Lai Feng, the deputy warden of the mountain prison. When Wan Lanxin saw Lai Feng, she felt a sense of despair. He was an expert who had reached the advanced general realm long ago, and could be said to be one of the top 3 existences in the mountain prison. Deputy Warden Lai Feng, why did you try to kill us? Wan Lanxin stared at Lai Feng and asked, "I thought that Zhang Xiong would escort you all down the mountain, so the warden asked me to make the trip personally. It's a sign of my allegiance. I didn't expect you to be the only one escorting these prison slaves. I'm a little disappointed." Lai Feng replied calmly with his hands behind his back. He wasn't afraid of being exposed. Wan Tianlong couldn't make it anyway. Wei Jian had already found an excuse to stop him, so he just needed to wrap things up. The first 5 people were sent by Wei Jian, so their lives did not have much to do with him. Now that he had appeared, he had to eliminate the root of the problem. He definitely would not give the people in front of him any chance to live, even if Wan Tianlong went crazy. "Do you really want to kill us?" Wan Lanxin asked with a frown. "Actually, I only want to kill that brat surnamed Yang." Lai Feng looked at Yang Wu and said. Yang Wu walked over and said, "Deputy Warden, let them go. I'll do whatever you want with them." Wan Lanxin stood in front of Yang Wu and said, "Whoever wants to kill you will have to go through me first. Niece, as long as you promise me one thing, I might let them go." Lai Feng's gaze fell on Wan Lanxin as he spoke. "What is it?" Wan Lanxin asked. "You know that my silly son likes you very much. As long as you become the daughter-in-law of the Lai family, even if I have to endure the warden's scolding, I can still let you go." Lai Feng smiled. Which parent didn't love their children? Lai Feng naturally cared about his only son, Lai Ziying. If Wan Lanxin could marry his son, he would naturally be happy to let them go. "Damn, old man. Your uncle's son is not worthy of a single strand of my sister's hair." Yang Wu walked in front of Wan Lanxin and said faintly, "You're about to die, and you still dare to say such words? You're asking for it." Lai Feng glared at Yang Wu and said, "Damn, old man. Come on, I'm afraid you're a coward." Yang Wu was already very clear that the other party wouldn't let him go, so he completely threw caution to the wind. "Brother Wu, stop talking." Wan Lanxin stopped Yang Wu and said, "Sister, why are you afraid of him? Let's join hands. I don't believe we can't take down this old turtle." Yang Wu said firmly, "Good, very good. I'll break your mouth. Let's see if you can still be so stubborn." Lai Feng said as he wiped away his killing intent. He didn't waste any more words with Yang Wu. Instead, he stretched out his hand and grabbed at Yang Wu. As an expert in the advanced general realm, Lai Feng condensed a fire claw and directly evaporated the raindrops. In an instant, he arrived in front of Yang Wu, intending to grab him. Bang! 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 Wan Lanxin reacted quickly. She held the jade umbrella in her hand and blocked the claw. However, cracks appeared on the jade umbrella, and it almost fell out of her hand. Lai Feng had already rushed over like a shadow and grabbed at Yang Wu's head again. He smiled grimly and said, "If you don't die today, I'll write my name upside down." This claw was the real killing move. Its power was extremely overbearing. It was as if a few flames had appeared out of thin air and burned the surrounding rain to a standstill. Wan Lanxin's reaction was a little slow. Lai Feng's attack was too fast. Yang Wu, on the other hand, had completely grasped it. After he obtained the primordial mysterious energy essence, he used most of his power to upgrade the level of the supreme 9 mysteries formula. The power of the divine court had also increased greatly. His reaction speed was definitely not comparable to that of ordinary people. Moreover, when Yang Wu provoked Lai Feng, he was already prepared. His feet were firmly on the ground, and a large amount of water power was directly absorbed by him. The power gathered on his body grew stronger and stronger. He visualized the dragon turtle sea turning technique in his mind, and the starting gesture slowly appeared. The moment Lai Feng's attack arrived, the power of his fist and palm converged like a dragon turtle, turning the sky and attacking, completely overturning the rainstorm here to meet the fire claw. Wan Lanxin was pushed away by the two forces. She looked at Yang Wu's power in surprise. It was actually stronger than hers. As expected of Brother Wu, his talent is even more outstanding than mine. Wan Lanxin thought to herself. When the dragon turtle and the fire claw collided, the rain splashed in all directions. The shocking collision force caused Wan Lanxin to retreat again and again. Yang Wu had already entered a state where he had no regard for his own safety. The power in his body had been drained, and he had even absorbed the power of the surrounding rainwater. The power of this attack had shattered Lai Feng's fire claws, and the remaining power had landed directly on Lai Feng's body. Lai Feng was so frightened that he retreated in time. Armor appeared on his body, but he was still a little too slow. Yang Wu's fist landed on his chest, and his palm landed on his lower abdomen. His body was directly sent flying. Lai Feng retreated a few steps before he stabilized his body. 3 layers of Xian armor had already formed on his body. However, he still wanted to spit out a mouthful of blood, but he swallowed it back down. He was a dignified expert in the advanced general realm. How could he be injured by a mere warrior? He could not accept this fact. Regardless of whether he accepted it or not, Yang Wu had already attacked again. The torrential rain around him seemed to be under his control. A faint image of a dragon turtle appeared behind him. The dragon turtle continued to attack with boundless power. Do you really think you can hurt me? You're too naive. Lai Feng had only used 50% of his battle strength just now. Now, he directly increased his battle strength to 70%. He clawed again, directly tearing apart Yang Wu's dragon turtle. Just as the claw force was about to reach Yang Wu's body, Wan Lanxin had already launched a sneak attack with her spear. Lai Feng frowned. One of his claws grabbed Wan Lanxin's spear light, while the other claw was still aimed at Yang Wu. Pooh! Yang Wu's cicada clothes were torn apart. The claw force directly tore through his flesh. A scorching heat spread throughout his body, and fresh blood instantly spurted out. Yang Wu fell into the muddy water. He only felt that his body was burning uncomfortably. He wanted to crawl up, but he had exhausted all of his strength. His body was also injured, so he was unable to get up immediately. Lai Feng prepared to attack again, but Wan Lanxin used all of her strength to pull out her spear. Then, she attacked again, stabbing directly at Lai Feng's head. Wan Lanxin did not dare to hold back at all. That blue profound energy that had reached 40 feet was filled with shocking destructive power. Lai Feng frowned. He turned his claw into a palm and directly smashed Wan Lanxin's spear light, causing her to fall into the rain. He said coldly, "Niece, don't be ungrateful." Wan Lanxin bounced up from the ground. She did not pay any attention to Lai Feng. She got into a stance and stabbed out with her spear again. This stab was like a rainbow in the rain. In an instant, it pierced through the layers of mist and stabbed directly at Lai Feng's throat. This powerful stab was caught by Lai Feng before it could reach him. He exerted some strength, and the spear light exploded inch by inch. He pushed forward again, and Wan Lanxin was sent flying again. "Wan Lanxin, you're courting death." Lai Feng had already lost his patience and shouted loudly. Wan Lanxin, on the other hand, didn't care. She got up again with blood dripping from the corner of her mouth. Her armor was dirty and messy, but the spear in her hand was still intact. She stabbed again. This stab was like a leopard pouncing on its prey in the rain. It was so swift and hard to defend against. Unfortunately, it was still destroyed by Lai Feng's claw. She was sent flying again, vomiting blood. Just when Lai Feng thought that Wan Lanxin would not be able to get up again, she got up again and stabbed with her spear again. It was as if she was not just tired. Yang Wu was lying on the ground. He could see that Wan Lanxin was fighting for him. His entire being was filled with grief and indignation. The Supreme Nine Mysteries formula was activated to the extreme, absorbing the surrounding water profound qi into his body. His run and dew meridians sped up, and his peach pit dantian was quickly replenished. His injuries also healed very quickly. "Since you want to die, I'll send you on your way first." Lai Feng was already impatient. He did not plan to play around anymore. He said faintly to Wan Lanxin, who was about to crawl over again. This time, Lai Feng did not wait for Wan Lanxin to stand up. He had already swept over and stomped angrily on Wan Lanxin. The leopard, who had not participated in the battle, suddenly rushed out and blocked in front of Wan Lanxin. It also blocked Lai Feng's foot. Roar! The leopard's body caved in from the stomp. It cried out in pain and rolled out. Fresh blood flowed all over the ground. It was clear that Lai Feng did not show any mercy. "Little Blossom," Wan Lanxin let the rain wet her face and cried out involuntarily. "Not only do humans have emotions, but even spirit demons have emotions. I'll send all of you on your way." Lai Feng said disdainfully, "Old bastard, you're already so old. What's the point of bullying a girl? If you have the ability, come and kill me." Su Xiaoqiang, who was not far away, gathered his courage and cried out. He even threw a rock at Lai Feng. His provocative look was unmistakable. Su Xiaoqiang did not use this name in the past. He used to be called Su Jingguang. This fellow had always felt that this name did not sound good, because there was a saying, "Those who see light die." It was very unlucky. Later, after he met with misfortune and was saved by Wan Lanxin, he changed his name to Xiaoqiang. He felt that he had the destiny of a Xiaoqiang. It would be difficult for the heavens to take his life. He was destined to be a man who would become a king. Su Xiaoqiang was afraid of death. This was also the reason why he worked very hard in his cultivation. He spent at least half of his time cultivating every day. He wanted to become stronger so that he could control his own destiny. Unfortunately, the heavens had given him too little time. He had already encountered such a powerful general realm cultivator. In a few years, he felt that there was no reason for him to be afraid of the old bastard in front of him. In the face of Su Xiaoqiang's provocation, Lai Feng only glanced at him contemptuously. Then, he sent the rock flying back. The force of the rock's rebound was many times stronger than the force of the impact. Su Xiaoqiang had no chance to dodge at all and was hit. He exclaimed at the moment when he was hit, "Damn it, I'm going to die before I've even lost my virginity. I can't accept this." Su Xiaoqiang, don't you have the destiny of Xiaoqiang? If you don't die, I'll invite you to a brothel in the future. Wan Lanxin shouted as she struggled to get up. Unfortunately, Su Xiaoqiang could no longer hear these words. Lai Feng had already arrived in front of Wan Lanxin, who had gotten up. Before Wan Lanxin could resist, he grabbed her neck and said coldly, "I wanted you to be my daughter-in-law, but unfortunately, you didn't cherish it." Just as Wan Lanxin was about to be strangled to death, Yang Wu got up and shouted with red eyes, "Little He, when are you going to appear?" Woof woof. Chapter 70. Little He appeared. Its tiny figure descended from the sky and landed on Yang Wu's shoulder. It bared its fangs with a ferocious look. Lai Feng initially thought that Yang Wu had some tricks up his sleeve. When he saw Little He, he couldn't help but laugh wildly. "Haha, you really gave me a fright. I thought there was something powerful to kill. I didn't expect to summon such a useless puppy. I'm dying of laughter." Unfortunately, before he could finish laughing, he felt a terrifying demonic aura above his head. It made it difficult for him to move. At this moment, his expression truly changed. He slowly looked up and saw that a golden wolf had appeared in the sky above him without him noticing at all. "Wolf! Wolf King!" Lai Feng cried out in despair. He consciously let go of Wan Lanxin's throat and stepped back without thinking. Now, he only hated that his mother had given him 2 more legs. Unfortunately, even if he had a few more legs, he wouldn't be able to escape the Wolf King's surprise attack. The terrifying mouth of the Wolf King bit down on his head. Lai Feng's head disappeared, leaving behind a headless corpse lying in the mud. Wan Lanxin, Shou Ho, and Little Man couldn't help but shudder when they saw this scene. The arrogant Lai Feng died in front of them, just like that. Did they have a chance of survival? The other assassin who hadn't run far was scared out of his wits. He wanted to run, but the Wolf King spat out a mouthful of golden light and killed him instantly. After doing all this, the Wolf King landed and walked toward Yang Wu. To be exact, it walked toward Little He. The wolf lowered its head and barked softly, as if it was asking for credit. Woof woof. Little He barked back while lying on Yang Wu's shoulder. The Wolf King came in front of Yang Wu and said, "Young master, please come up. Lang Jia will escort you out." This time, the others were so shocked that they were speechless. Their eyes were wide open, and their mouths were so wide open that a fist could be stuffed in. This was a Wolf King. How did it become Yang Wu's mount? With such a Wolf King, where in the world could they not roam unhindered? Why would they stay here and suffer? Were they out of their minds? Yang Wu also wanted to ride the Wolf King away, but what about his family? He didn't care about his own infamy, but he couldn't let down the ancestors of the Yang clan. One day, he would clear his name and the royal nobles would give him justice. If they didn't, then he would use his fist to take them back. Yang Wu ignored Lang Jia and ran toward Wan Lanxin. He asked worriedly, "Sister, how are you?" Just now, Wan Lanxin had blocked Lai Feng for him again and again. Other than worry, he was also touched. Having a woman so stubbornly protecting him was a blessing from the heavens. He had to cherish it. I won't die yet," Wan Lanxin replied with a strong smile. In the next moment, Yang Wu carried Wan Lanxin on his back and summoned Lang Jia. He placed Wan Lanxin on the Wolf King and waved to Skinny Monkey and Little Man, "Let's go." Skinny Monkey and Little Man were both injured, but they could still walk. They supported each other as they walked over. When Skinny Monkey walked past Lai Feng's corpse, he didn't forget to say, "Big brother, let me make a fortune from the dead." After saying that, He bent down and stripped Lai Feng's body, taking everything that could be used on him. These things included Lai Feng's combat weapon, inner armor, jade pendant, pills, and silver shards. Su Xiaoqiang was indeed a cockroach. He struggled to get up and ran toward the other dead assassins to collect their valuables. However, what disappointed Su Xiaoqiang was that these people only had combat weapons left behind. They didn't have much money on them, nor did they have anything more valuable. This made him very unhappy as he cursed. Mother of Asterisker, these poor bastards are wasting this young master's strength. Just like that, Su Xiaoqiang carried a few weapons and followed Yang Wu and the others. They left together. They didn't have a carriage and had to travel on foot. It would take them about 2 days to reach the barbarian army's camp. Yang Wu and the others were injured, so they weren't in a hurry. Moreover, with the Wolf King's protection, they could rest assured and find a place to recuperate. Wan Lanxin's injuries weren't light. Su Xiaoqiang and Skinny Monkey didn't have it easy either. They were holding on for dear life along the way. Only Little Man was slightly better. Yang Wu was recovering his injuries along the way. When they found a cave to rest, he had already recovered 60 to 70% of his strength. Everyone squeezed into the cave. Skinny Monkey took out a few healing pills that he had obtained from Lai Feng and distributed them to everyone. Everyone, take a rest here. No one will dare to trouble us again, Yang Wu said. They had escaped death, but Yang Wu wasn't in a good mood at all. He already felt that some people were determined to kill him. Even if he joined the Death Legion, he wouldn't have an easy time. He had to think carefully about his next path. Yang Wu looked at his companions who were in a sorry state and felt extremely guilty. He thought to himself, only by becoming the Death War King can I resolve all my current sufferings. Yang Wu stopped thinking and sat down cross-legged to recuperate from his injuries. In this humid weather, the Supreme Nine Mysteries formula absorbed very quickly. A lot of water, Xian Qi, gathered on his body, quickly nourishing his body and strengthening the power in his peach core dantian. A day and a night passed, and the sky cleared up after the rain. After recuperating for a while, Yang Wu's condition had completely recovered, and the others were much better off. Little Hay asked Lang Jie to catch a wild boar for them to eat. Everyone was starving. When the wild boar was cooked, they couldn't wait to wolf it down. Damn, the meat roasted by this little dog is delicious, Su Xiaoqiang praised as he stuffed meat into his mouth. Little Hay rolled her eyes at him. She didn't care about this guy at all. Shouho said, Little Hay is a spirit demon. Watch your words. Don't worry. I don't dare to offend her. Su Xiaoqiang laughed. Then he said to Little Hay, who was lying on Yang Wu's body, Little Hay, my name is Su Xiaoqiang. You have to take care of me in the future. If you get tired of lying on that guy's shoulder, you can jump over to my side. I don't mind. Shouho gestured at Su Xiaoqiang and said, You're trying to steal from my big brother. Why don't you go die? After going through so much together, they were obviously much more casual with their words. Yang Wu gently stroked Little Hay and said to Su Xiaoqiang, If you're not afraid of being bitten by Little Hay, I can let her pass. I've seen Little Hay bite off an arm and bite off a person's, but apart from this Viscount and Little Man, she doesn't get close to anyone. Little Hay cooperated and bared her white fangs. Su Xiaoqiang was so frightened that he quickly waved his hands and said, I was just joking. Originally, Su Xiaoqiang only thought that Yang Wu was just a prison slave. Even if he had some relationship with his young mistress, he wasn't worth his attention. Now, things were different. He didn't dare to act rashly. At this moment, Wan Lanxin said, Let's go. We should be on our way. Big sister, why don't you rest for 2 more days? Yang Wu said, No need. Wan Lanxin shook her head and said, Okay, then let's go. Yang Wu straightforwardly replied. Right now, he also wanted to hurry to the barbarian suppression army and kill his way to the king's path. On the way, he said to Little Man behind him, Little Man, when we reach the barbarian suppression army's territory, you should follow my big sister. Don't accompany us to the barbarian suppression army. Young master, you don't want me anymore? Little Man bit her lips and said pitifully. Then she quickly added, I have some strength now. I definitely won't be a burden to young master. If you don't believe me, you can ask Big Brother Sunday. Shoho gave a thumbs up and said, Big Brother, little man's strength is really amazing. She can even compare with me. If she practiced martial arts, she would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Is that really the case? Yang Wu said in astonishment. Before he left the 68th district, he didn't know that little man had this kind of ability. Yes, I want to protect young master. Little man lowered her head and said in a small voice. At this time, little Hei jumped down from Yang Wu's body and directly fell into little man's arms. Little man quickly hugged it. Little Hei stuck out its tongue and licked little man's palm. Then it called out twice, as if it was praising little man. Wan Lanxin couldn't help but look back at little man. Her beautiful eyes had an inexplicable, complicated look. Yang Wu laughed heartily and said, Little man, it's good that you have the heart. However, young master hasn't fallen to that point yet. Listen to me and live a good life with my sister. If young master doesn't die on the battlefield in the future, you can come and serve me. Young master, don't say such inauspicious things. You will definitely live a long life. Little man said nervously as she waved her hand. Yes, even if the heavens want to take my life, they have to have the ability to do so, Yang Wu said in high spirits. Then he said to Shoho and little man, I will teach you a battle skill that will help you improve your speed. Remember it well. Then he passed on the scud chant that AI, Fei Li had taught him to Shoho, and little man Yang Wu didn't hide it from Wan Lanxin and Su Xiaoqiang. If they wanted to learn it, he would let them. In any case, this was a general skill, and its level wasn't low. If they could learn it, it would be a skill. Yang Wu himself hadn't practiced it yet. When he was free, he would definitely ponder over this battle skill and increase his attack power. After Yang Wu repeated it 2 or 3 times, Shoho and little man both memorized it. Su Xiaoqiang also secretly memorized it. This guy's memory was extraordinary. When Yang Wu said it was the first time, he could already remember most of it. This battle skill is extraordinary. It seems like this kid's background is really not simple. Su Xiaoqiang looked at Yang Wu and thought in his heart. On this journey, they didn't encounter any other twists and turns. They slowly approached the territory of the Barbarian Suppression Army. A new battle was about to begin. Chapter 71. The Barbarian Suppression Army was a powerful army belonging to the Great Xia dynasty. It was personally overseen by the Barbarian Suppression King, one of the top 10 experts of the Great Xia dynasty. The army had a total of 150,000 soldiers and was responsible for stopping the invasion of the barbarians. The conflict between the Great Xia dynasty and the barbarians had never stopped. The Wolf Smoke Mountain Range was the border between the Great Xia dynasty and the barbarians. Yang Wu and the others were prison slaves and were criminals. If they wanted to get rid of this identity, the only way was to earn merit points. However, this path was full of hardships, tribulations, and dangers. It could even be a situation where there was a slim chance of survival. 100,000 gene of red steel and 100 barbarian heads. These 2 conditions were indispensable. 100,000 gene of red steel could be slowly accumulated, and there was a chance to reach 100 barbarian heads. However, to obtain 100 barbarian heads, one would have to enter the death battle between the Death Legion and the barbarians. The slightest carelessness could lead to death. Basically, out of 10 prison slaves, 7 would die. 1 or 2 would be seriously injured. The reason why the Death Legion was called Death Legion was because this legion was completely different from the other legions. They were all death warriors. If they could survive, it would be a great blessing. Yang Wu and Shoho definitely wanted to enter the Death Legion to earn merit points. As for little man, she also wanted to walk this path. However, with Wan Lanxin's protection, she could open the back door and reduce the risk for her. Wan Lanxin also wanted to open the back door for Yang Wu and Shoho. However, Yang Wu was determined to enter the Death Legion. He didn't want others to find any reason to deal with him in the future. Shoho would follow Yang Wu even if he had to die. Even if he died on the battlefield, he wouldn't be afraid. Shoho was very clear that Yang Wu was his benefactor. That blind fortune teller had said that he, Shoho, had met his benefactor in prison. From then on, he would be like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. You will die like this. Wan Lanxin looked at Yang Wu and Shou Ho with a displeased expression. There was still about 2 hours before the Barbarian Suppression Legion arrived. After 2 days of recuperation, Wan Lanxin's injuries were much better. Yang Wu looked at Wan Lanxin with a serious expression and said, I was wronged and imprisoned, but I haven't been killed yet. I've already profited. In the Death Legion, I was lucky enough to carve out a path to become a king. Then my grievances and the grievances of my Yang family will be resolved. Do you understand, sister? You want to walk the path of the Death Battle King? Wan Lanxin asked in surprise. That's right. If I don't become a king, I'll become a ghost. Yang Wu clenched his fists. If you don't become a king, you'll become a ghost. Count me, Su Xiaoqiang, in. I'll also join the Death Legion. Su Xiaoqiang, who had been smiling mischievously all this while, exclaimed softly from aside, Be a good soldier. Don't learn from my big brother. Shou Ho looked at Su Xiaoqiang and said in a bad mood, Shou Ho, don't look down on people. In the future, I'll make you wholeheartedly call me Big Brother. Su Xiaoqiang replied confidently. This isn't child's play. Wan Lanxin glared at Su Xiaoqiang and said, Young miss, I'm serious. Instead of following you into the army, it's better to let me fight. The Death Legion definitely lacks a man like me who has the destiny of a cockroach. I'll definitely carve out a path to become a king. Su Xiaoqiang said with longing. If you really want to die, I won't stop you. Wan Lanxin said in a fit of pique. Su Xiaoqiang scratched the back of his head and said embarrassedly, I also want to protect you in the future, young Mississippi. Yang Wu didn't want to be entangled in this matter. He pointed at the Wolf King under Wan Lanxin and said, All right, there's still 2 more hours before we reach the Barbarian Suppression Army's base. This big guy should go back. Otherwise, it'll arouse suspicion. Wan Lanxin licked her lips and said, The Wolf King is my mount. It's a lifetime of profit. After saying that, she got down from the Wolf King. The Wolf King ignored Wan Lanxin completely. Instead, it cast its gaze on Little Hay, who was in the little man's arms, and barked, A woo. Little Hay replied with a hint of pride, Woof woof. These 2 spirit demons seemed similar, but their barks were completely different. It was unknown what they were communicating about, which was very strange. After Lang Jiel lowered its proud head, it turned around and quickly ran towards the mountain range. Its speed was as fast as an arrow, and it disappeared in a few blinks of an eye. Good boy, if I can have a king grade mount in this lifetime, I'm willing to lose 10 years of my life. Su Xiaoqiang couldn't help but wipe his saliva as he watched the Wolf King disappear. With your poor looks, don't even think about it in this lifetime, the skinny monkey said. Bird's nest head, do you want to die? Su Xiaoqiang glared at the skinny monkey and shouted in dissatisfaction. I'm just speaking the truth. If you don't like it, we can fight. The skinny monkey replied. These 2 were born to be at odds with each other. If it wasn't for Wan Lanxin's words to stop them, they would have really fought. After the Wolf King left, the group walked towards the Barbarian Suppression Army's base. When they were about 5 kilometers away, a sentry stopped them. Who are you? How dare you approach the military base? Dozens of riders rushed out from the forest. The leader was sitting on a handsome horse. He held a steel spear in his hand and pointed it at Yang Wu and Wan Lanxin's group. This group of people was full of killing intent. It was obvious that their hands were stained with the blood of the dead. They weren't ordinary people. Wan Lanxin stepped forward and showed her token. I'm Wolf Smoke Mountain Prison's district warden, Wan Lanxin. I brought 2 prison slaves to join the Death Army. Please let us pass. The leading cavalryman looked at Wan Lanxin's badge and said politely, Oh, you're the daughter of Prison Warden Wan. Thank you for bringing the 2 prison slaves here. It's their honor. Please go ahead. The Barbarian Suppression Army was only 2 or 3 days away from the Wolf Smoke Mountain Prison. They could be considered close neighbors. There was a lot of communication between the 2, especially for a military beauty like Wan Lanxin. Naturally, news of her had spread to the Barbarian Suppression Army. Many major generals and commanders coveted this military beauty. There was also a lunatic who said that he would take the heads of 1,000 barbarians for Wan Lanxin and bring them to the prison to propose marriage. There were also people who said that they would wait until they had the same status as Wan Lanxin before getting intimate with her. Wan Lanxin nodded and led the group towards the barbarian suppression army's base. After they walked for a few dozen meters, the soldiers' comments about Wan Lanxin came from behind them. As expected of the wolf, Smoke Mountain Prison's flower. Look at that figure swaying like a flower. She's so sexy and enchanting. Of course, how can a woman who can be mentioned in the same breath as the flower of death in our camp be ordinary? Coming to the camp in person this time will definitely make the major generals fight until their heads bleed. Lower your voice. It won't be good if she hears. It's a pity that I don't have the ability. Otherwise, I could take her as my wife and hold her in my arms every night. How comfortable would that be? Enough. All of you shut up. The mountain prison's lord has an extraordinary status. He's not someone we can look down on. Wan Lanxin, who hadn't gone far, didn't look too good. The others didn't look too good either. The other party was too arrogant. If it was someone else, Yang Wu could tolerate it. However, these soldiers were talking about Wan Lanxin. He couldn't tolerate it. Just as he was about to turn around and argue with these guys, Wan Lanxin grabbed his hand and shook her head, indicating that he shouldn't be impulsive. Sister, I can't tolerate this. Yang Wu replied. Small heartless people cause great chaos. It won't be too late to let you vent your anger after you regain your status as a viscount and even become a champion. I won't lose anything if they say a few words now, but once you make a move, you'll be completely done for. Wan Lanxin said seriously. Yang Wu took a deep breath and then nodded. I will become a war king. Me too, Su Xiaoqiang chimed in from the side. I should have a chance as well, the skinny monkey said with some lack of confidence. There were countless temporary tents scattered among the hills where the barbarian suppression army was stationed. Numerous well-trained squads patrolled the area. There were even spirit eagles acting as sentries and ferocious tigers lying down. It was a very solemn place. Wan Lanxin and Yang Wu's group went through 2 more rounds of interrogation before they were brought to a tent to meet with an officer. The officer was a little old man in his 50s. He wasn't wearing his military uniform and was only wearing casual clothes. He had one leg on a chair and was picking his nose with one hand, looking very sloppy. When he saw Wan Lanxin and Yang Wu's group, he said impatiently, "What are you doing here? Hurry up and hand over the official documents. This daddy's time is limited." Su Xiaoqiang quickly took out the official documents from the ambush and handed them to the little old man. We're from the Wolf Smoke Mountain Prison. Let the 2 of them join the Death Legion to kill barbarians and earn merit points for atonement. The little old man only glanced at Yang Wu and the skinny monkey before muttering, "Good youths committing crimes. They deserve to die." Therefore, the little old man accepted the official documents and threw out the 2 wooden tokens. Take the tokens and go out. Someone will lead you to the Death Legion. Yang Wu and the skinny monkey each took a wooden token with the numbers 99,999 and 10,000 carved on it respectively. The skinny monkey looked at his 10,000 token and said with a smile, "Big bro, our numbers are really auspicious. It looks like we'll be able to walk out alive after joining the Death Legion." Before Yang Wu could say anything, the little old man sneered and said, "None of the prison slaves who were sent here from the prison over the past few years managed to walk out of the battlefield alive. If you guys can come back alive, this old man will be able to retire and return to his hometown." When the skinny monkey heard this, his face fell. Yang Wu said optimistically, "Then this lord can just wait to retire and return to his hometown." With that, they walked out of the tent. At this moment, Su Xiaoqiang said, "Sir, give me a token too. I also want to join the Death Legion to kill barbarians." After saying that, he took out his prison guard token and prepared to exchange it for a wooden token. The little old man looked at Su Xiaoqiang in surprise. Then he raised his brows and said, "Little fellow, do your parents know that you're so unafraid of death?" "My parents died a long time ago," Su Xiaoqiang said with a silly smile. "So you're also in a hurry to meet your parents?" The little old man's mouth was really mean. "How can that be? I just want to become a king." I think you have a chance to become a ghost king. Chapter 72. Wan Lanxin took little man and Yang Wu took Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang. They separated. Wan Lanxin didn't leave the barbarian suppression army. She decided to join the army. Her father was the warden of the mountain prison, and he had a good relationship with one of the generals here. She decided to join him. She was the district chief of the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison, and her strength had advanced to the intermediate general realm. She could at least get the position of a sergeant. When they separated, Little Man cried to Yang Wu and said, "Young master, you must take care of yourself. When Little Man becomes powerful in the future, I will definitely be able to protect you." Yang Wu stroked Little Man's head. He really couldn't say anything. He could only give her a few flower seeds. He didn't expect her to be able to protect him, but at least he hoped that she could protect herself. In this way, Yang Wu, Wan Lanxin, and Little Man parted ways. They were led by a veteran to the front of the army. The Death Legion was the most neglected army in the barbarian suppression army. However, it couldn't be ignored. This was because the people who were sent to the Death Legion were not only prison slaves, but also many vicious people. There were also some ruffians who didn't listen to the rules, and soldiers who violated the army rules. They were all mixed in with the Death Legion. This kind of army was naturally not favored by the other armies. At the same time, it was also the army that was least restrained and managed. Every time, the contributions made by the Death Legion weren't any worse than the other legions. Even if these contributions weren't rewarded, the higher-ups were well aware of it. This was because the soldiers of the Death Legion had sent themselves to their deaths time and time again, killing some of the important barbarian experts and eavesdropping on the latest information from the barbarians. This had brought great benefits to the entire army. Because of this, the barbarian suppression army turned a blind eye to the actions of the Death Legion. As long as they didn't do anything too outrageous, they could tolerate it. Yang Wu, Skinny Monkey, and Su Xiaoqiang naturally did not understand the situation of the Death Legion. They were just newbies, and the first step was to integrate into the Legion. The veteran led them to the furthest and furthest tents. There was only one large tent there, unlike the other tents that were densely packed together. Around the camp, on top of the rocks, on top of the trees, there were some people sitting or lying down lazily. These people were dressed differently. Some wore armor, some wore plain clothes, and some were even naked. It was hard to believe that these people were an army. They were more like a pile of loose sand with no discipline to speak of. The old soldier leading the team was a little afraid of these people sitting around, so he walked more carefully. He said to the three people behind him, "The Death Legion's camp is in front. You guys can go there yourselves." After saying that, the old soldier slipped away as if he had been smeared with oil, leaving the three people looking at each other in dismay. "Is this place that scary?" Su Xiaoqiang pouted. "It should be a little scary." Skinny Monkey stared blankly ahead and replied. In front of them, there was a person holding a corpse and tearing it in half on the spot. The bloody scene was really scary. Yang Wu calmly said, "Let's go." The Death Legion is made up of people who have forgotten about life and death. We should also forget about life and death when we come here. The one who is afraid of death is a grandson. Su Xiaoqiang patted his chest and replied. Just as he finished speaking, a big barbarian's head suddenly fell at his feet. He was so scared that he instantly screamed. "Ah, grandson!" Skinny Monkey looked at Su Xiaoqiang and said with disdain. Just as he finished speaking, a pool of blood splashed towards him. He didn't have time to react before he felt his whole body was wet and sticky. He touched it with his hand and saw the stinking blood. He also screamed involuntarily. Anyone who was splashed with blood would be scared out of their wits, and Skinny Monkey was no exception. At the same time, a broken palm grabbed at Yang Wu from the air, as if it wanted to dig out Yang Wu's heart. It rushed over an extremely fast speed. Before this broken palm reached Yang Wu, it was caught by Yang Wu without touching him at all. This was a broken palm. It didn't have much power and was only used to scare people. Yang Wu looked at the naked man who was dismembered and said faintly, "Is this how the Death Legion frightens newcomers?" The naked man didn't reply. He glanced at Yang Wu and stuffed a piece of bloody flesh into his mouth. His ferocious appearance was quite scary. Su Xiaoqiang and Skinny Monkey were really scared out of their wits. They had seen a lot of crazy things in the mountain prison, but this was the first time they saw someone eating raw human flesh. It immediately made them want to vomit. However, this wasn't why they were scared. They were scared because that guy seemed to be staring at them as if he wanted to eat them as well. It made their hair stand on end. Soft skin and tender flesh. Looks good. It's enough for 2 meals, the naked man said with a grin. Then, he stuffed more meat into his mouth and chewed. Su Xiaoqiang and Skinny Monkey couldn't help but vomit. Yang Wu also felt extremely disgusted, but he forced himself to endure. He circulated the supreme 9 mysteries formula in his body and suppressed his stomach. We haven't even reached the battlefield, and he's already giving us a lesson. Yang Wu sighed softly. He then ignored the naked man and called out to Su Xiaoqiang and Skinny Monkey. If you can't even endure this, then you'll die on the battlefield in the future. Don't even think about becoming king. Yang Wu's words were useful. Su Xiaoqiang and Skinny Monkey forced themselves to stay alert. Su Xiaoqiang said first, "That's right. We have to be prepared to die. It's just eating human flesh. What's there to be afraid of? If you dare take a bite, I'll call you Big Brother." Skinny Monkey said from the side. Blurg. Su Xiaoqiang couldn't help but vomit on the spot. Skinny Monkey didn't have it any better. He vomited out the contents of his stomach again. Some things were easy to say, but not easy to do. Yang Wu actually didn't have it any better than them, but he was still stubbornly enduring it. "Brat, you have some guts. How about I give you a piece? It's quite delicious." The naked man threw the flesh in his hand at Yang Wu. "Get out of my sight." Yang Wu yelled in a loud voice. "Yo, you have a bit of a temper. I just don't know how to compare your mouth to your hands." The naked man shouted in disdain and threw a broken leg at Yang Wu. This time, the broken leg contained power. It wasn't as simple as the broken palm that was thrown over. Yang Wu didn't wait for the broken leg to arrive. He immediately sent out a palm. A wave of profound qi swept out and directly blew the broken leg apart. Yang Wu shouted at the naked man, "I, Yang Wu, challenge you." Some things were unavoidable, so it was better to just happen in advance. Establishing dominance. This was what Yang Wu wanted to do the most at this moment. Otherwise, they would definitely be looked down upon by these arrogant veterans. Instead of waiting, why not take the initiative to attack? Sure enough, after he shouted, the other soldiers also started to jeer. "Yo, not bad. Li Dazue, your man-eating trick doesn't seem to work anymore. They don't really take you seriously." A few days ago, a brat who wasn't afraid of death joined us, but he was still scared half to death. Now, there's another one. Looks like our Death Legion is getting more and more fun. There are always some ignorant brats who think they can go to the battlefield and kill the barbarians. But they don't know that they'll be scared shitless when they actually go to the battlefield. Li Dazue is also kind enough to teach them a lesson, but they don't appreciate it. These newbies aren't that strong either. Li Dazue can crush them with one hand. The man called Li Dazue grinned and said, "You're not bad. If you can withstand a palm strike from me, I'll admit defeat and let you guys register." Yang Wu nodded and said, "Come on. Be careful, big brother." Shouho bowed and reminded Yang Wu. "Teach that disgusting guy a lesson." Su Xiaoqiang said from the side. "I'm coming." Li Dazue shouted and threw away the broken limb in his hand. He strode toward Yang Wu. With every step he took, his aura rose. Soon, a layer of mystic armor appeared on his body, and the ground caved in from his steps. When he was 5 meters away from Yang Wu, 2 layers of mystic armor condensed. This was an ability unique to intermediate general realm cultivators. When he was 3 meters away from Yang Wu, 3 layers of mystic armor appeared. Yang Wu's gaze instantly turned serious. Just now, he had thought that his opponent was at most an intermediate general realm cultivator. But now he was wrong. His opponent was at the advanced general realm, the same level as the dead live phone. He had no chance of winning. "Shueji, do you think Li Dazue can kill this brat with a palm strike?" Under a pine tree in a certain direction, a muscular man in black asked a man in red. The man in red looked seductive. He did not have the aura of a man at all. Instead, he looked like a woman who had put on makeup. He said in a feminine voice, "I think he'll be seriously injured after one strike." "That's not bad," the strong man in black replied. At this moment, Li Dazue he made his move. Heart-tearing hand. This was Li Dazue's famous palm strike. So far, he had torn the hearts of 36 barbarian generals. It could be said to be a unique killing palm strike. This palm strike contained a terrifying, murderous aura. The earthy yellow mystic chi rippled with a sharp force, and it went straight for Yang Wu's heart. When Yang Wu felt the oppressive aura, he had already secretly channeled his strength. Water-type mystic chi surged in from the muddy ground under his feet. The mystic chi in his peach cord Dantian boiled. In an instant, all the strength gathered in his arms. He punched out with both hands at the same time. It was as if a dragon turtle was treading on the waves to meet Li Dazue's attack. Bang! The two powerful mystic chis exploded. The powerful force blew the grass and trees to the left and right, and the soil splashed everywhere. Yang Wu was forced to retreat from where he stood. Every step he took left a deep footprint on the ground. He did not stop until he was 5 meters away. Li Dazue raised his eyebrows and said with a big smile, "You're not bad. You can go report now." After saying that, he turned around and left in a carefree manner. Who would have known that this man who loved to eat human flesh had once saved 49 new recruits on the battlefield? Chapter 73. Yang Wu was forced back 5 meters by Li Dazue's attack. Other than the surging blood chi in his body, he was not injured. It was not that he could fight against an advanced general, but that the other party had gone easy on him. At most, he had only used 30% to 50% of his strength. Yang Wu could fight against an intermediate general, but it did not mean that he could fight against someone of higher level. Unless he reached the level of a top-notch warrior, he might be able to do so. However, he was still quite a distance away from that level. Skinny Monkey stopped vomiting. He quickly went to Yang Wu's side and asked with concern, "Big brother, are you all right?" Yang Wu waved his hand and said, "I'm fine. Let's go report in. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. I'll reluctantly let you be my underling in the future." Su Xiaoqiang walked over and said proudly. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Skinny Monkey could not help but punch him in the eye. Fortunately, Su Xiaoqiang's realm was slightly higher than Skinny Monkey's. He dodged at the first moment and scolded, "What are you trying to do? F***CKU." Skinny Monkey shouted angrily. Just as Skinny Monkey was about to attack Su Xiaoqiang recklessly, Yang Wu grabbed Skinny Monkey's hand and said, "It's fate that we're able to join the Death Legion together. We'll be brothers from now on. Don't hurt each other. Our primary goal is to survive here." "Who's his brother?" Su Xiaoqiang and Skinny Monkey said in unison. They glared at each other but did not attack again. They all knew that Yang Wu was right. Yang Wu, Skinny Monkey, and Su Xiaoqiang entered the tent. They did not see the general here, only an expressionless adjutant. This adjutant was a handsome, tall, and thin man. He had a pair of evil eyes and a tense face. It was as if there was an icy aura rushing toward the three of them, causing them to not even dare to breathe loudly. The adjutant took their tokens. After confirming it, he waved his hand and chased them out. Skinny Monkey-like couldn't help but ask, "Where are we staying?" Su Xiaoqiang continued to ask, "Which commander are we following?" Yang Wu hesitated for a moment and did not speak. He also wanted to know the answers to these two questions. The adjutant said coldly, "The sky is the blanket, and the earth is the bed." After a pause, he added, "You guys and Li Dazue. Is Li Dazue the one just now?" Yang Wu asked. "That's right, the guy who likes to eat people." The adjutant replied with a sinister smile. At this moment, Shou Ho's and Su Xiaoqiang's faces were as white as the color of their parents. They wanted to cry and beg the adjutant to change to another person, but Yang Wu forcefully pulled them out. Big brother, are we really going to follow that guy who loves to eat people?" Skinny Monkey cried. Su Xiaoqiang also did not have a good time. His face was pale as he said, "We will be eaten by him. Being eaten by yourself is better than being eaten by the barbarians." Yang Wu replied. At this moment, Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang did not say anything else. After entering the Death Legion, they had no way out. Whoever dared to secretly leave would be mercilessly hunted down. Even if they fled to the ends of the earth, only death would await them. This was an iron-blooded military rule. It was clearly written in the tent just now. Yang Wu brought Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang to find Li Dazue. Since they were his soldiers, they had to listen to him. Li Dazue was sleeping in the grass with some human limbs beside him. Even the people in the Death Legion did not dare to get close to this guy who loved to eat people. Yang Wu resisted the urge to vomit and bowed slightly to Li Dazue, saying, "Yang Wu, Sun Do, and Su Xiaoqiang are here to report." Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang were already vomiting when they saw the human limbs. Li Dazue did not seem to hear them. He was still snoring and sleeping soundly. Yang Wu frowned for a moment, then quietly stood on the spot and began to practice the dragon turtle suppressing water stance. Everything else was thrown to the back of his mind. As for Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang, they vomited until they could not straighten up. They still needed some time to adapt to this disgusting boss. Yang Wu's supreme 9 mysteries formula and dragon turtle water suppression stance were combined. The speed at which he absorbed the Xian-Qi of heaven and earth was astonishing. On the way to the barbarian army, he had already opened 136 acupoints. Now, a few more acupoints were about to be opened. This had a lot to do with him opening the run and do meridians. It was not unreasonable for the run and do meridians to be opened, the 8 meridians to be opened, and the 100 meridians to be opened. He needed to become stronger all the time to be able to keep his life and perform meritorious deeds in the coming days. Yang Wu stood on the stance for a whole day. For acupoints were opened in his body. Every time an acupoint was opened, it was as if there was a river rushing in his body. There was also a whirlpool spinning rapidly, making a strange sound. The abundant power was almost overflowing. Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang had already left some distance and found a clean place to meditate. They did not want to be cowards, so they had to adapt to the cruel environment here. Li Dazue, who was lying on the ground, opened his eyes and said faintly, "It's time to eat meat." Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang, who had calmed down with great difficulty, had their appetites churning again. Yang Wu stopped his stance and cupped his fist to Li Dazue, saying, "Yang Wu, Sun Do, and Su Xiaoqiang have come to report to Sir." Li Dazue grinned and said, "It's time to eat meat." After saying that, he no longer paid attention to Yang Wu and rushed in a direction. Yang Wu thought for a moment, then turned Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang and said, "Follow him." Shou Ho was absolutely obedient to Yang Wu's orders. He stood up without thinking and followed Yang Wu. Su Xiaoqiang hesitated for a moment, then muttered, "Let's go. Who's afraid of who?" Thus, they followed Big Mouth Li's direction and moved forward. The direction Li Dazue was heading towards was the hinterland of the Wolf Smoke Mountain Range, which lay between the Great Xia Empire and the barbarian tribe. That was where the two armies fought. Whoever entered the mountain range would encounter the enemy, and a battle could break out at any time. The hinterland of the Wolf Smoke Mountain Range was like a dragon's spine that separated the two kingdoms. There were hundreds of continuous mountains, old trees, wild beasts, and countless spirit demons. There were also poisonous miasma, algae, and other dangerous places. It was not easy for either side to launch a large-scale battle against the other. After countless years of confrontation between the two armies, a path to the battlefield had been opened up in the heart of the collapsed mountain range. The mountains there had long been riddled with holes from the battle. Even the mountain ridges, which had been flattened, had become a vacuum of 100 miles. Even spirit demons did not want to go near it. Li Dazue rushed towards his battle path. Yang Wu, Shou Ho, and Su Xiaoqiang did not know the situation in this battle path and followed recklessly. When they reached the battle path, they realized that there were many skeletons, broken limbs, and blood. Even the wind and rain could not completely erase them. Yang Wu, Shou Ho, and Su Xiaoqiang felt a sense of desolation. It was as if they could see the merciless slaughter of the two armies. That tragic scene was unforgettable. Li Dazue was very familiar with this place. He leaped like a cat, controlling his speed so that Yang Wu and the rest could keep up. After about an hour, they gave up on the battle path and entered the dense forest on the right. At this moment, Yang Wu suddenly felt movement in front of him. This was the feeling of his heaven's court. Back then, after he swallowed the primordial mystic essence, his heaven's court's spiritual power had increased greatly. His reaction speed was also incomparable to ordinary people. At this moment, Li Dazue slowed down. A sinister smile appeared on his face as he murmured, "There's meat to eat." Yang Wu said to Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang behind him, "Pay attention, there's something up ahead." Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang immediately became alert. Soon, a few barbarians appeared in front of them. They were making a fire and roasting food. There were many corpses hanging on the tree beside them. They were the soldiers of the great Xia dynasty. The barbarians were naturally taller and stronger. Their attire was very different from that of the great Xia dynasty. It was easy to tell that they were barbarians. "My meat, I'm coming." Li Dazue did not bother with strategy and rushed towards the barbarians. Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang also wanted to follow, but they were stopped by Yang Wu. Then he pointed at the corpses hanging on the tree and said faintly, "Look at them. Not only were the bodies of these corpses smashed, but even their limbs have been torn off. How cruel was that? Being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to ourselves. So from now on, put away our fragile hearts." Yang Wu shouted as he clenched his fists. Then he followed Li Dazhou and charged toward the barbarian tribesmen. He could get rid of his identity as a prison slave by killing 100 barbarians. He could not wait to complete this mission. Shou Ho and Su Xiaoqiang looked at each other and seemed to understand something. They no longer hesitated and rushed towards the barbarians. On the battlefield, there was no such thing as mercy. If the enemy did not die, then they would die. "It's devouring, Li Dazue. How much meat did you eat from my barbarians? Today, you will die without a burial ground." A barbarian exclaimed. In front of him, the barbarian tribe was already fighting with Li Big Mouth. These barbarians dared to come to the battlefield to kill the people of the great Xia dynasty. Naturally, they were not weak. The brute force that erupted from them was not to be underestimated. A barbarian was wearing a yellow Xian armor. He carried the warlord and chopped down at Li Dazue. The overbearing axe radiance reached a distance of 6 feet. Li Dazhou didn't seem to have any weapons. He just used his palms to block the attack. Powerful Xian Qi condensed and turned into claws. He grabbed the power of the battle axe in his hands and directly crushed the axe light. At the same time, he used his knees as a weapon and rushed towards the barbarian's lower abdomen. This attack was abnormally fast. Once it hit, even the mountain rocks would collapse. The barbarians had always been known for their brute force and defense. Their physique was not inferior to the demon race. The barbarian's Xian armor directly ate Li Dazue's knee. Then, the axe slashed towards Li Dazue's neck. Li Dazue dodged the attack with an extremely crafty movement. The leg that he used to hit the barbarian race member with his knee stretched out and kicked the barbarian race member back. Li Dazue flipped his body, and like a lion pouncing on a rabbit, the heart-tearing hand grabbed at the barbarian race member's heart. The barbarian knew how powerful Li Dazue was. He used his other hand to meet Li Dazue's claw and threw out a tyrannical punch. Barbaric Python Fist. On the other side, Yang Wu also collided with the barbarians. Chapter 74. Yang Wu was wrongly imprisoned. He was unwilling and angry. He wanted to clear his name and prove his innocence. His crime could only be washed clean with the blood of the barbarians. It had only been a month since he was imprisoned. He could finally fight against the barbarians, cut off their blood, and wash away his injustice. Yang Wu's aura had reached its peak. Both of his palms were surrounded by a whirlpool of qi, and he blasted it towards the armored barbarian. This barbarian held a giant blade in his hand, and his body was covered in 2 layers of profound armor. His bright eyes looked at the oncoming gazes and shouted disdainfully, "There are a few more reckless monkeys from the great Xia dynasty. Let me kill them with one strike." Yang Wu only had a pair of unformed Xian clothes on his body. Its defensive power was much weaker than the Xian armor. The barbarian could tell that he was a warrior at first glance, so he didn't put him in his eyes. The giant blade was like a rainbow that could cut through mountains and rivers. The barbarian wanted to kill Yang Wu with a single slash. He didn't show any mercy. Yang Wu wouldn't show any mercy. The whirlpool of energy in his palms produced an inexplicable soft force. When he blocked the giant blade, he separated his palms and directed the power of the blade to the side. The overbearing blade didn't cut him in the slightest. However, the force from the blade made his arms slightly numb. It was enough to show how powerful the barbarian's force was. Interesting. It's more fun to kill like this. The barbarian laughed. The giant blade slashed down and the force increased. The sharp blade was enough to cut through rocks and break mountains. Yang Wu's fighting spirit was high. He repeatedly struck out with his palms like waves, blocking the blade. At the same time, he kept increasing his strength. He wanted to turn defense into offense and directly attack the barbarian's vital points. After the barbarian felt Yang Wu's strength, he didn't dare to be careless. He activated his defense to the maximum. As he moved, the giant blade slashed crazily. The airtight blade made people feel suffocated. Yang Wu was still at a disadvantage in terms of realm. Even if he had perfected his vortex palm and opened his conception and governing meridians, he could only fight on par with the intermediate barbarian general in front of him. The barbarian tribe was born with brute force, and some of the more talented barbarian tribe members were, the more powerful they were. This middle-level barbarian general in front of Yang Wu could at least compete with a high-level human warrior. This was also the reason why Yang Wu couldn't take him down with one strike. At this time, the skinny monkey-like man and Su Xiaoqiang had fallen into a bitter battle. The barbarian's cultivation level was not lower than theirs. In fact, the barbarian's cultivation level was even higher than theirs. They had no chance of winning. If this continued, they would soon be defeated. However, Li Dazue was the first to kill his opponent. He risked his shoulder being injured by the brute general and used the heart-ripping palm to dig out the brute general's heart. Then, Li Dazue threw the heart into his mouth and chewed it. The blood that seeped out from the corner of his mouth frightened the barbarians. Commander's heart has been eaten by Li Daze. This devouring demon, let's kill him together. We must kill him and avenge our commander and our tribe's Lang. 3 barbarians who had been watching the battle were completely enraged. They joined forces and surrounded Li Daze. Li Dazue wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were shining as he said, "I want to eat meat." His movements were like the wind. His palms seemed to be countless. They simultaneously enveloped the 3 barbarians. In a few blinks of an eye, the 3 barbarians were directly killed by him. At the same time, he took advantage of the situation and rushed towards the 2 barbarians who were attacking the skinny, monkey-like man and Su Xiaoqiang. He descended from the sky and kicked out with both of his legs. The 2 barbarians' big heads were kicked open by him. "Xin maize meat. Do you want to eat it together?" Li Dazue looked at the skinny monkey-like man and Su Xiaoqiang with a sincere face and asked. The 2 barbarians were already injured and exhausted. They wanted to thank Li Dazue for saving their lives, but when they heard Li Dazue's greeting, they almost fainted. This was a devouring demon. At the scene, only Yang Wu and the barbarian were left fighting. The other barbarians were all killed by Li Daze. Li Dazue ate the meat while watching the battle between Yang Wu and the barbarian. He didn't lend a helping hand. Instead, he watched with great interest as if he was watching a play. Occasionally, he would even applaud and cheer. Nobody knew if this guy was really crazy or just pretending to be crazy. Yang Wu and the barbarian were evenly matched. Yang Wu's body was covered in wounds and looked battered and exhausted. On the other hand, the barbarian was hit by Yang Wu many times. His Xian armor was also showing signs of cracking. The force of the collision crushed the surrounding rocks and trees. "If I don't kill you, I swear I won't return to the army." The barbarian was really angry. This was the first time he encountered a great Xia soldier who was at a lower realm than him. Rolling stone slash. The barbarian's huge saber was like a rock rolling down from a high mountain. It carried a rolling intent and launched the fiercest attack. Its power was unparalleled for a moment. Yang Wu didn't have a combat weapon, and was at a disadvantage. He still struck out with both of his palms, but both of his arms were bleeding. "Kill him for me." The barbarian had already forced Yang Wu to retreat and sustain injuries. The barbarian's brute force was getting stronger and stronger, and the gleam of his saber was incomparably sharp. Yang Wu's clothes were completely torn apart. Just as Yang Wu was about to be beheaded by the saber, Yang Wu's aura finally reached its peak. He shouted, "You are my first opponent on the battlefield, and also the first head I want to take." Dragon Turtle Sea-Turning Technique. This was Yang Wu's most powerful technique at the moment, and the power it could unleash was also the strongest. The power of his fists and palms contained profound energy, and the power of his attack was even stronger than the technique he used against Li Daze. Bang! When the two profound energies collided, the resulting sound was so loud that it could be clearly heard from a few miles away. A cloud of dust rose from the surroundings and filled the air. Yang Wu's technique didn't directly explode the barbarian, but it completely shattered his defense. The marks of his fists and palms were branded on the barbarian's body, but the barbarian's huge saber also left a terrifying wound on his waist. "I didn't expect you to beat me into this state with just a warrior's realm. Today, even if I have to risk my life, I will make you stay." The barbarian didn't care about the injuries on his body and charged at Yang Wu once again. The huge saber once again chopped down on his head. Yang Wu revealed a bitter smile and thought to himself, "Looks like there are no cowards on the battlefield." Yang Wu could only circulate the Supreme 9 Mysteries formula and Dragon Turtle water suppression stance to quickly absorb the energy and replenish the energy he lost. On the other hand, he took the opportunity to practice scud kicks. He no longer clashed with the barbarian, but instead, he used guerrilla warfare to prolong the battle. He firmly believed that his recovery speed was faster than anyone else's. His healing speed was also unparalleled. As long as the barbarian ran out of energy, it would be his chance. Scimitar kick sounded like a footwork technique, but in fact, it was more of a leg combat technique. The faster the kick, the more variations it would have. It could even increase the strength of the kick while running, making the attack more powerful. Yang Wu followed the technique that AI Fei Li taught him and kept stepping in different directions. He narrowly dodged the barbarian's attacks again and again. At the same time, he also kicked at his lower body. Unfortunately, the power of his kicks wasn't that great. However, Yang Wu wasn't in a hurry. He took the risk to practice this footwork technique on the battlefield, so he didn't expect to succeed in one go. The barbarian's strength was strong enough, but his movement and attack speed were indeed gradually decreasing. The destructive power of Yang Wu's sky reversal technique was not to be underestimated. Yang Wu's injuries were slowly healing, while the barbarian's injuries were worsening. With this, Yang Wu's chances of winning would increase. Shouho started cheering for Yang Wu. He shouted, "Big brother, kill that barbarian. Your big brother doesn't have a weapon. How can he do that?" Su Xiaoqiang retorted, "I can kill you with my hands." Shouho turned around and glanced at Su Xiaoqiang. "Do you believe that I'll kill you first? Come at me if you can." As Yang Wu and the barbarian fought for a longer time, Yang Wu slowly gained some insight into the use of scud kicks. Normally, when he cultivated alone, how could he improve faster than when he cultivated with the pressure of an opponent? Moreover, Yang Wu's comprehension was astonishing. It was not something that an ordinary person could compare to. Just as Yang Wu was about to drag the barbarian to death, the barbarian actually made a feint and ran away. He didn't want to continue the fight. This left Yang Wu a little stunned. On the way to the barbarian army, Wan Lanxin had told him about the habits of the barbarians. They were usually brave and warlike people who would never easily admit defeat and flee. However, this barbarian seemed to be different from what he had imagined. Looks like the barbarians are also afraid of death. Yang Wu thought to himself. Just as he was about to give chase, a little haze shadow attacked faster than him. It pounced on top of the barbarian's head, scaring him so much that he panicked. "What are you? Get out of my way." Although that thing had gotten out of his way, his speed of escape had slowed down. How could Yang Wu let go of this opportunity? He shouted, "Die, barbarian!" Yang Wu stomped his feet with all his might and pounced out horizontally. He gathered all his strength in his palms, and two streams of vortex power rushed toward the barbarian's back like flood dragons. The barbarian was sent flying while vomiting blood. He crashed into two large trees before coming to a stop. The barbarian was very resilient. Even though Yang Wu's force had penetrated his body, he was still able to get up tenaciously. Unfortunately, before he could stand up, Yang Wu had already raised his leg and kicked the back of his head. Scimitar kick. This was a general technique that Yang Wu was still not familiar with. Now that he had used it, he could already use it. He channeled all his celestial chi into his feet and charged out from his Yongquan acupoint, kicking the back of the barbarian's head. The back of the head was the most vulnerable part of everyone, even the barbarians. Under Yang Wu's full-force kick, the barbarian's head finally shattered. However, this barbarian was indeed at the intermediate general realm. He was still able to launch a final attack before he died. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. The huge saber spun around and slashed down with all its might. Yang Wu's hair stood on end, and he instantly retreated. However, there was still a long bloody gash on his stomach, and even his intestines could be seen. After the barbarian executed this slash, he completely stopped breathing. However, his eyes did not close. It was obvious that he had died very unwillingly. Yang Wu fell to the ground and let out a long sigh. Then he smiled and muttered, "I've obtained the first set of merits.